before heading to Australia. The Lions weren't alone on the boat. Also on board were 300 stoats and weasels, who were brought over to eliminate New Zealand's rabbit problem. The first ever Lions captain, Robert Seddon, died of drowning midway through the tour while sculling on a river. Andrew Stoddart, who was another of the cricketers there, took over and was the star of the tour. The next one was the first to get official recognition from the RFU against the newly formed Springboks. Although the Lions won the series and beat the Boks again 5 years later, in the 12 series since in South Africa, they've only won 2. New Zealand has proved an even tougher hunting ground, just the 1 series win for the Lions in 11 attempts, which came in 1971. And then there was that nail-shredding drawn series in 2017, only the second in Lions history. Only once have the Lions clinched a series after losing the first test, 1989, when David Campese's infamous ghost pass was pounced upon by Ian Evans. Before World War II, the Lions had a dark blue strip, which on the 1930 tour forced the All Blacks to play in all white. So in 1950, the iconic red shirts, white shorts and blue and green socks combination was born. It remains the symbol of the greatest alliance of adversaries in all of sport. To borrow the phrase from Jim Telfer, the Lions is Everest.
Good morning, this is Game Day Breakfast. I'm Natalie Sawyer and with me it is the one and only former Republic of Ireland striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Last night, the new season got underway at Kenilworth Road as Luton edged past AFC Wimbledon 1-0. Let's hear what the Hatters boss Matt Bloomfield had to say about the win.
It was never going to be easy rocking up tonight. Everyone's turned up, waiting to see how we react to what happened last season and waiting to see if Wimbledon can get a result tonight. So we now understand the situation. There's going to be plenty of nights where we're going to have to be patient and probe. We've got a little bit of fortune tonight and we're going to have to make sure we make our fortune more often than not.
Don't forget Game Day Live coming your way today with Adrian Durham as he keeps you right up to date with all of Leagues 1 and 2 and the Scottish football as well. Elsewhere, can the Lions whitewash the Wallabies? Our coverage starts after us at 10 o'clock. And the Lions head coach Andy Farrell explained why he's only made a few changes to his final test squad of this series.
Well, it's what's right for the group and how we see them pulling up after 2 test matches, etc. But what we've also done with them this week and how we freshen them up and whether we feel that they're in the right frame of mind and this is the best 23 to take the group forward.
And to the breaking news that has broken overnight, the Spurs captain Heung-min Son has asked to leave Spurs. Here's what he's had to say in a press conference.
Before we start the press conference, I just want to share the information that I decided to leave this club in this summer. And respectfully, this club and is helping me to my decision. So I just want to share this information before we start the press conference. Thank you.
So huge news then coming into us from the Far East. Heung-min Son announcing, Cass, that he wants to leave Spurs this summer. I mean, he has been an absolute talisman, really, when you consider his career at Tottenham, but goes out on a high when you think that they won that Europa League trophy last season.
I'm delighted for him because I love players that give so much to a football club and never been on the front pages, never been a problem, never disrupted the camp, played second fiddle to Harry Kane for long periods, but was absolutely pivotal to his partnership with him. Scored a lot of goals, 127 in 276 league games. And he's had a number of appearances in other competitions and scored goals. 10 years perfect.
Yeah.
He's lost half a yard. That has been pivotal to him as a player. And when I look at him, I just think absolute great pro. If you're any manager, now Thomas Frank would have probably, and I'm as Thomas Frank said in the press conferences, that he'd love to have kept him and worked with him, but you would do because he's been such a great pro. And I think he's done the right move. I mean, last year watching him coming off the bench so often, and even Spurs fans saying that Son is not quite the same player.
Not making the same impact.
I get that. Look, there's certain players have to move on. He's been an absolute legend at the football club. I think he's like 5th or 6th in the all-time appearance level games that he's played for the club, and just his goal record, and just seemingly, just a great lad to be around. He's been just a true professional that, fans should just applaud. And I think it's perfect timing for him to go on and pastures a new challenge for him at 33. And he's lost one thing, and that is half a yard, which is pivotal to players who rely on that half a yard to make a difference.
Well, I was just about to say, pace was so much part of his game.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, explosive pace. And did it brilliantly. He was a great finisher, but it was a tricky season. It would have hurt him last year being, substitute, but never, ever did I read a story about Heung-min Son at Spurs complaining about anything. Whether he should be moved on. I just don't remember anything from him. There might be some fans who say, well, there was a period he could have left, but he clearly wanted to be a Spurs player and a fantastic pro for the club.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, 10 years of service is incredible.
22 million, 10 years service. That's what they paid Spurs when he came from Bayer Leverkusen. And he's
incredible.
Repaid them in spades. He just has. He's been brilliant for them. And, we should always applaud people or players that give so much to clubs when it's so easy. I know we're going to talk about players moving on and transfers this morning, but when some players give so much to a football club, and he's done that to Tottenham.
Yeah, he says it's basically time for a new challenge, a new environment, he says, to push himself, or myself, obviously, as he says. He says, I came to North London as a kid, 23 years old, such a young age. I leave this club as a grown man and a very proud man too. And he goes on to thank all the Spurs fans, he says, for giving him so much love. There is a suggestion of the MLS for him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, wherever he wants to go, he's leaving the Premier League. That's pretty sure, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to play for anybody else in the Premier League.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure when you've given so much to one club, and you want to go and move on, you go somewhere where it's a different type of challenge, and the MLS would be that, and he's got the right to choose. I just think so often we criticise or we stereotype footballers for their greed and they could be selfish. I think he's a complete opposite to that.
And I quite like as well, obviously he would have had these discussions behind the scenes with everyone at Tottenham, with Thomas Frank and everything else, and they've given him that opportunity in a press conference basically to make that announcement, which I quite like. Because it's the respect shown both ways, essentially.
Absolutely.
And I like that.
Yeah, and it's right that the club are allowing him, and they're not asking a fee, because he's got 1 year left on his contract, hasn't he? I think he's still got 1 year. I think he's got that option of one more year. And, the club are honouring a great player by saying, OK, we accept that he's got 1 year left. They're not digging in their heels and saying, no, we want 5 million for you, we want 10 million. They've gone, look, he's been an unbelievable servant for us. Let's let him go if he wants to play football elsewhere and not stand in his way.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. So fair play to them as well.
Yeah. They are out in actually Korea as part of their pre-season. Thomas Frank has confirmed in the game that they are playing against Newcastle that Son will start and will captain the side as well. So that's probably maybe his last hurrah in a Spurs shirt, which again, respect is being shown. Let's not forget, Thomas Frank's only new to the job, but that shows the respect that Thomas Frank has seen in Son, all the service and everything, and going, I'm going to start you and I'm going to obviously give you the captain arm, but I know he is the captain, obviously. But it's still quite nice that he's giving him that opportunity to say goodbye in this way on the pitch.
Yeah, perfect send-off. Look, he'd have known everybody at the football club.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody involved, from the groundsman to, the tea ladies to people within the backroom staff. He would have known everybody. And it will be really hard on him. it will test his heartstrings this final game because he's done so much for Spurs as a player and what he's given. OK, he would have loved to have had more trophies in the cabinet, but like you said at the very start, he won a trophy at the end of last season. He was on the bench for that game. So he's just not as pivotal for Tottenham as he once was. But let's look back at 10 years of absolutely top-class performances, you know, week in, week out. He always gave his all, Heung-min Son.
So in terms of legendary status, he's written his name into the Tottenham books. Yeah, absolutely.
And it isn't the status with loads and loads of trophies to show for it, but, you know, what he's achieved by his goals, and I always felt when he was on the pitch, he'd cover every blade of grass across the pitch, and he certainly was off colour last year. It wasn't the same, it wasn't the same. But Tottenham have been struggling. They were struggling the pre-season before, towards the end of last season. I've watched them a few times, and we're going back sort of 18 months now. And the club had lost a lot because obviously Harry Kane's moved on as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's probably the last of the team that made that Champions League final. I might be wrong.
Can't think of anybody else then.
Yeah, I think they've all left. So he was the last one, which, again, also has that sort of sadness to it when you're a Spurs fan, certainly. I've had a message in on X from West Sussex Spurs who says, love Son, but time is right. He will always be a Spurs legend and earn the right to do what's right for him. He says he is ahead of Kane, in my opinion, because he didn't leave to buy a trophy. But there will be Spurs fans that have that sort of similar thinking, I suppose. You know, and equally
I would say that Harry Kane was an incredible servant as well for Spurs and what he achieved. And he stayed there. Look, Spurs fans won't like this, but he's probably stayed there a bit too long because he was trying to win trophies with Tottenham and sign new deals. There would have been times where Harry Kane could have easily moved on. So, and he chose to stay at Tottenham until it really got to a stage where he had to move on. Yeah.
And look, he's their record goal scorer, Harry Kane. So it's not like he didn't do his bit. Scott's come in. I don't know who you're a fan of, Scott, but I'm sensing you're not a Spurs fan. Frank can't handle big players, he says. That's a bit harsh. Let's give him a bit more time to see if he can handle some of the bigger players, maybe.
Well, no, I think he's handled it perfectly well. He's sat in the press conference alongside Heung-min Son. He's been, gave him heap praise on him. And he said he would have loved to have worked with him. And I totally would get that. Because if you've got a player that makes life easy for you at a football club and also is a captain and also has been a star man for you, you should make the most of that. And I think Thomas Frank would have, like he said, I don't think he would have, looked at Heung-min Son. He would have watched him enough over the last few years since he's been in England and think what a good player he is.
Yeah, certainly so. Tottenham fans, or indeed fans of any club, if you want to get involved in our discussion, then you can get in touch. 81089 is the text number. You can WhatsApp us on 03717 223344. Spurs fans in particular, you might want to share your love and your stories of Son. Why not let us know how you feel about the situation as well, because it is an end of an era. After 10 years, Heung-min Son has decided it's time for him to leave Spurs and perhaps the Premier League. As you say, Cass, we can't envisage he'll play for any other Premier League team just because of the affection and love, no doubt, he'll have for Tottenham. But why not get in touch? Because it'd be great to hear from you. On the way next, the new football season is underway. Got underway last night at Kenilworth Road in League One of the EFL. We'll run you through what happened next. morning, this is GameDay Breakfast. It is FA Cup finalist with Chelsea, Tony Cascarino, alongside me, Natalie Sawyer, and can't be a bit of Daft Punk, can you? I like it.
That was quite lively in the morning.
Yeah, it's nice.
20 past 6 in the morning.
It wakes you up. The reason we're playing this, obviously, this is the song One More Time, and it's because we spotted a story in the papers. It's got the headline of "I repeat." This is so annoying. Nearly all Brits cats get wound up by having to repeat themselves, with more than half saying they are with more than half saying they are forced to say the same thing over and over. I'm glad you're making yourself laugh. Asking a partner more than once to do housework, or parents trying to get their kids out of bed for school, etc. Even doing their homework are some of the common repeat offenders. Why are you saying don't? What annoys you?
Repeating to my kids, do this, do that, ignored, again, and I end up, I'm not going to say it again. I'm going to tell you, if you don't do it, I'm just not going to go there again with you. You know?
Yeah.
You have to, because you have to put a line in the sand, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Sort of think back to probably when I was young, my parents were doing the same, but you don't really learn. And then as a parent now, I'm with my son and saying, remember you got to do this, and then an hour later, have you done it? No. Or that blank face of no. So yeah, that is quite annoying at times.
Do you know Jack Charlton would say to you, I'm going to tell you one thing you need to do in the game. Like he'd say, drop into this space, because he liked his centre forwards to drop into, when we lost the ball, you drop into a space.
Okay.
Right? He said, I'm going to tell you once, and I'm not going to tell you again. And if you don't do it, I'll pull you off. I used to think, I was playing the game and thinking, I've got to drop into space, I've got to drop in. And I was so focused on dropping into the space. So we always wanted you to be like the first line of defence.
Yes.
When you were centre forward, if you lost the ball.
Yeah. And otherwise you'd face...
He wouldn't repeat. He wouldn't tell you again, say, I've asked you to do that, and you didn't do it. He was quite brutal like that.
Yeah, that is stern. It's not the same as repeating, but it slightly is. No, what I was going to say, it's not the same as repeating, but slightly. My parents are of a certain age, with technology is a bit of an issue for them, and sometimes they'll ring me and say, we've got an issue with something, and this is always on FaceTime. They always ring me on FaceTime, but sometimes I'm like, you don't always have to ring me on FaceTime, because I'm like walking or I'm on the train, and I'm like, I don't really want to be FaceTime anyway, but I always answer because they're my parents, so I need to check in with them. Anyway, they'll ring and say, the TV's not working, so I'm like, okay, can you switch the camera so I can see what's going on, you know, and get your remote? And do they ever film the right way? No. I'm like, can you move it to the left? No, you're going right. To the left. I need to see the screen. Oh, that infuriates me, because I am repeating myself over and over. No, can you move the... Oh, honestly, it makes... Oh. But still,
remember
we do
that.
What we can. I know.
One day, you will be of a certain age.
Hence why I get the calls. My brother doesn't, because I normally answer and normally try and help them. But yeah, my brother's obviously worked out the knack of don't answer, and then you don't get into these wound up situations.
Yeah, you're upsetting your mum and dad. They've been together a long time, haven't they? So
they have. They'll be celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary this year.
Just a quick story, right? On the way, I went down to Eastbourne for the week, okay? And on the way down, Rocco was watching a thing on the iPad. And he said, there's 3 rings to marriage.
3 rings?
3 rings, to marriage. He said engagement ring, wedding ring, and Safa ring. I couldn't stop laughing. It was driving.
Brilliant. That's great. How old is he again?
Well, he's 9. He's the 3 rings that. As we were bickering.
I was about to say, he's like, I'm telling
he's obviously seen it on the the shorts that you can get sometimes. Yeah. But as he came out of it, I'm thinking, where are we going here? Yes. Yeah, and then he went suffering.
Yeah. And then you're all going quiet, like, uh-oh. Talking of suffering, AFC Wimbledon went through it yesterday.
Yeah, the own goal.
Oh, crikey. The opening game of the EFL season saw Luton edge past AFC Wimbledon 1-0 at Kenilworth Road. It was a Ryan Johnson late own goal in the 84th, 85th minute that saw Luton get off to that winning start. In the wake of the defeat to Luton, the AFC Wimbledon manager Johnny Jackson spoke exclusively with talkSPORT's Ian Abrahams, and Jackson didn't hold back as he addressed the heartbreak for the team.
I'm really gutted for them, to be honest. Gutted for the players, gutted for the supporters, because I felt like the way that we performed, certainly without the ball, we deserved. Listen, we didn't do enough to win the game, of course, but I think we deserved the point. And to lose it, like sort of a bit of a freaky own goal, yeah, it's a hard one to take.
Yeah, a really hard one to take, especially when it's so late on in the game, Cass. It was, they'd actually been on the attack, AFC Wimbledon, but Luton quickly turned it around and went on the counter. Naki Wells playing a ball into the box, and Ryan Johnson gets to it first, the AFC Wimbledon defender. But the way he heads it back, and it goes over the keeper, Nathan Bishop, and into the goal for an own goal. So you can imagine, pretty heartbreaking. It was a game of few chances, it's fair to say. There's just the one shot on target for Luton. But that won't matter. 3 points at the end of the day for Luton.
Do you know, with the goal,
go on.
It's such a... You know when a defender is backpedaling and the ball's just going over the head and he's getting challenged by the forward, and as you're backpedaling, you're thinking, I'm just going to get a touch. But your touch is so perfect, the goalkeeper's sort of half committed himself.
He's come out.
He thinks... And it's just a looping header
that's what it is.
Drifts over his head, off the bar and into the net. And
it's heartbreak one.
Yeah, because it's, the keeper thinks he's not going to get there. He manages to get some sort of head. If he's on his line, he catches it. Just catches it. But it's one of them. Late on, Johnny Jackson will be, it'd be devastating. Because first game, because they will be, Luton are in prime position. I still have to look at the league because I keep thinking they're in League One.
I know.
And it feels really weird that they're back there so quickly. But they'll I think they'll do all right, Luton, this year. I'll give a mention to Josh Keeley, who they've signed, the keeper from Tottenham.
That's right,
for £1 million. I saw a lot of him at Leyton Orient last year. And I thought he was a really decent keeper. He had a great season for Leyton Orient on loan. Hopefully he'll... Because I think he's, 22, 23 now? I think Luton have signed a goalkeeper that one day they'll sell for a lot more money. Decent keeper.
Yeah, I remember on that loan spell when we saw the FA Cup.
Leyton Orient.
Very, very much so. We should also say last night, Luton announced the signing of the former Swansea player Jerry Yates, which is a good signing for them too. So they've been bolstering their squad. As you can imagine, they've lost a lot of players. Yeah. But they're bolstering their squad and bringing in the forward that is
Matt
Jerry
Bloomfield,
Yates.
the manager, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And let's not forget, when he moved to Luton, Wycombe were in a good position where he was manager previously, and they were in League One. So, he knows how to get the best out of a team to be in playoff.
Well, they nearly survived last year, didn't they? They nearly
Luton. Well, it came down to the final game.
Literally last game of the season. But they got some decent results in the running. I mean, the first part of the season, they were just unrecognisable from the team that were in the Premier League the season before. Unbelievable.
And no one thought that was going to happen.
No.
And they're still getting parachute payments as well.
Yeah. It'll help
League
them.
One, yeah. Well.
And they're a well-supported club, Luton. They really are. They're a well-supported club.
Yeah. So it's Luton that get off to a winning start. As I mentioned already, GameDay Live is coming away today with Adrian Durham as he takes you around the grounds for all the 3:00 kickoffs. He's going to be at Milton Keynes. You've got Mickey Gray, who'll be at Lincoln, and then we've got Sean Derry involved too. He's going to be at Walsall as well. So lots and lots for us to keep you right across. I'm going to quickly get some messages because we've had some this morning on regards the news that Heung-min Son is to leave Tottenham. He has made that announcement today. Darren says he's a legend and shows all players how to respect the game and his club. He says, and that mad fan, and I mentioned one that messaged me about he thinks Harry Kane in comparison is beneath Son, really. He says that mad fan who criticised Harry Kane needs to grow up. I like that, Darren. Thank you very much. This one is from Sam. He says, Son Heung-min has been a great role model on and off the pitch for all young players, especially young Spurs players, even now, by showing if you represent yourself well, you'll get a good send-off. And that's true. Very, very true, Sammy. 100%. Thank you. And Simon in Chesham, he's having a little pop at me. And I hear you. He says, remember your parents are the people who taught you how to use a spoon, Natalie. Don't be too hard with them. You're right, Simon. I'm not being I promise you, I do a lot for my parents, but I want to as well.
I can confirm that. I hear it quite regularly that Natalie's having to do something for her parents.
And my brother's living a charm life.
With the car especially.
Oh, honestly. My brother lives a charm life. Doesn't have a clue about half the stuff I have to do. He's like, oh, I'm so busy. I'm like, oh, and I'm not. But anyway.
Look at me, your brother's sick on radio.
I know. Best thing is he's not listening, so it's fine. He won't know. Okay, on the way next. It's a fascinating weekend to come in Birmingham for the UK athletics as athletes look to try and qualify for the World Championships in Tokyo. That's next. morning, this is Game Day Breakfast with a man who was once sold for 12 tracksuits. That's Tony Cascarino. He's alongside me, Natalie Sawyer, and we have to let you know that you've only got a few days left to enter our huge prize draw to win 10 grand and a VIP night out at Wembley Stadium to see Coldplay. That's right, we're giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates. That's on August the 22nd, and it comes with full hospitality. And we're chucking in 10 grand too, completely tax-free. But it all ends on Monday. So here's how you enter. You might want a pen and paper for this. It is 18 and over. It's UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, all you have to do is text the word WIN to 83338, and that's by the 4th of August at 11 p.m. So that's on Monday, and that's it. You'll be entered into the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or, and this is where I say you might need a pen and paper, you can post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP. That has to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. All T's and C's are at talksport.com. Right, let's turn our attentions to athletics, shall we? And Birmingham play host this weekend to the UK Championships, where Britain's top athletes are battling for a place at the World Championships in Tokyo. Let's bring our man who's very much in the know on all of this. It's our athletics reporter, Michael Waydock, who joins us. Michael, good morning. How are you?
Michael?
Good morning, Tony. Morning, Natalie. Lovely to speak to you.
Lovely to speak to you. Fresh off his holiday where you were scoffing lots of nice food. I saw, Michael.
Lots of lasagna, lots of pizza. I'm in no condition to do any track or field this week, and I will have to just talk about it, I'm afraid.
Well, I was going to say thank goodness, because I've not seen you perform like that.
I was saying, I feel like I'm in elite company here, as in, you and Natalie last year, the Olympics.
This time last
year, you were there working.
The best,
so I'll let you get on with it, Nat.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you just tell us the basics, really? What happens today? Just tell us exactly what's at stake.
Yeah, it's quite complicated, but ultimately today and tomorrow, the British Athletics Championships will take place at the Alexander Stadium. So that was the host venue in Birmingham for the 2022 Commonwealth Games. So the British Championships back in Birmingham, having been in Manchester for the last few years. And if athletes have the qualifying standards, so whether that is a time, a height or a distance, and they finish in the top 2 at these British Championships, then they will be on the plane. They'll be selected. They'll be in the World Championship team for Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Those World Championships take place in Tokyo in September. Now, there are lots of little subcategories to that. So if you were a medalist in Paris, if you're a medalist at the last World Championship, then you will be getting what is called a wild card. There is also an option for the selectors to pick a third person as well. You can have up to 3 people. In fact, in some events, if you've got a wild card, you can have up to 4 people. And if you are highly ranked enough with World Athletics as well, you could also be selected through that measure. But ultimately, if you've got the distance, or you've got the time, or you've got the height, and you finish in the top 2 today or tomorrow, you'll be there. You'll be in the World Championship team.
Brilliant. So are there any wild cards as such that we should be looking out for?
Well, I think obviously today we're always going to be looking at the sprints, and what's going to be interesting today is that Dina Asher-Smith is not going to be running the 100 metres. So as the current reigning European champion over 100 metres, she will be selected automatically, you would imagine, for that event. So in the 100 metres, you've got the likes of Daryl Neater and Amy Hunt lining up there, and then Dina Asher-Smith will be running the 200 metres. There's also an interesting thing that Georgia Hunter-Bell has kind of targeted the double. So you'll remember exactly a year ago, she won the brilliant bronze in Paris at the Olympic Games. She's now become a full-time athlete. So she's going to be running the 800 metres across the weekend, because she knows, because she's got that bronze medal from the Olympics, she'll be selected for the 1500 metres. So she's running the 800 metres as well to see if she can get selected there.
Michael, Tokyo in September, so the World Championships, there's always a certain number of athletes that get injured and are battling against the clock to be fit. Yeah. And I'm sure there's 1 or 2 in there, isn't there?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are talking about those that we won't see over the weekend. Now, top of the pile is probably Keely Hodgkinson. And it actually doesn't surprise me that Keely's struggled a bit this season. You might recall back in February, we spoke ahead of her event, the Keighley Classic, which was an indoor event in Birmingham that she was promoting, but she hurt her hamstring just before that event, so had to pull out of her own event. But she's had a really busy few years, and she's still a really, really young athlete. So if you remember, she won a silver in Tokyo at the Olympic Games. In 2022, she had a World Championships and a Commonwealth Games, another World Championships in 2023, and then the Olympics last year. So, that is a lot of championship running that she's done. So it doesn't surprise me that she's been struggling a bit with injury this year, having won the gold medal in Paris. Matt Hudson-Smith is another one that's not on the start line this weekend, but again, as a medalist from Paris, he should be selected for the team if he's fit and healthy. We won't see George Mills because he's had an operation on his wrist, and no Jake Whiteman as well. So Jake Whiteman pulled out of the last Olympics. He didn't actually make the trials ahead of the last Olympics, and he's pulled out through illness. So he'll be in a real battle. Former world champion over 1,500 metres, but he might not be selected at that event this time.
Michael, what do you make of this? Because Arnell Hughes, obviously a 100-metre runner, 30 years old, he's in the paper this morning saying Arnell wants athletics to follow the lead of boxing and have pre-race face-offs and trash talking publicly. Showdowns.
Well, no, Lyles does that all the time now.
I mean,
I was just about to say.
I was going to say that's quite a sort of a new idea with athletics and follow the lead of, say, boxing and other sports. What do you make of that sort of line?
I think it's the bigger picture with the sport of track and field. And, the Olympic Games is fantastic. And, every night of athletics action in front of 80,000 people at the Stade de France is a brilliant showcase for the sport. The World Championship comes close to that, but not quite as good as that. But I think athletes, I'm talking about the athletes themselves and the sport, struggle to capture the public imagination around the rest of the calendar. And I don't think that's the athletes' fault necessarily. I think we've got a kind of fractured calendar where the Diamond League, there are some things on the programme, and then the next week it's not on the programme and it's actually difficult to follow. It's not easy like a Premier League season where you get 3 points for a win, 1 for a draw, and you'll get teams relegated, teams in playoffs, teams that'll win title. It's difficult to try and follow your favourite athletes through the course of the year. Now, Michael Johnson tried it with the Grand Slam track, and they've had to sort of pull that one early. And I think the athletes themselves, they're very, very conscious at the minute, which is why you'll see them all on social media so prominently, creating their own content. They're very, very conscious at the minute of trying to do what they can in order to make the sport relevant 52 weeks of the year. And I think that's what Arnell Hughes is getting to. Athletes in America, all those medalists from last summer, the people like Cole Hocker and Noah Lyles, they can walk down their streets in America and hardly anyone will recognise them. And that's an issue.
Funny enough, that's what we were talking about just before we came to you, Michael, in the break, where we were saying that, when you talk about athletics in particular, the Olympics, it's all, and everyone loves it at the Olympics. But after that, you sort of, unless you're like yourself working within it, or you're a massive athletics fan, the casual fan just kind of forgets about it, unfortunately, and that's the state of athletics, sadly.
Yeah, and and sadly, in some parts of the world, it's not even big at the Olympic Games. So if you rewind to Rio 2016, I know in this country, in Great Britain, we look forward to week 2. It's the athletics, or in LA it will be week 1 actually, because they're switching the calendar. But it was empty stands in Rio back in 2016. It doesn't even the Olympics capture the imagination of some countries. And what we've got, and certainly we've got in this country and actually around the world, is we've got some brilliant athletes at the moment. And I don't just talk about on the track and in the field, but we've got some great personalities at the minute. We've got some people that are really top of their game right now, and I'm thinking of names like Mondo Duplantis in the pole vault, charismatic figure, and that are doing amazing things on the circuit. And I think what Arnell Hughes is getting at is just how do we try and capture that and get it on the radio, put it on television, get it online a little bit more regularly for people. And, I think we are really well served in this country. We do see and hear a lot about athletics, but it's not the same all the way around the world.
How many times has Duplantis broken the record now?
Oh.
That's every time.
I've lost count, Natalie. We've been very privileged to have seen it.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Well, he's got the good idea, Michael, hasn't he? just do it with the smallest of margins.
Absolutely.
You can do it regularly.
Then you're always breaking it.
No, just don't go, too
There's
high.
a financial incentive, you see.
I was going to say, that's the cynic there.
Yeah, so if you go up 20 centimetres in one go, you're losing 19 paydays. If you go up 1 centimetre a go, then you're making 19 paydays. As you say, that's the cynic, but might also be the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Michael, it's great as always to chat to you. Enjoy the weekend and keep us posted.
Thank you. Chat
Cheers,
soon.
good luck.
Cheers, guys.
That's
Bye,
Michael Waydock, our athletics reporter, and it's going to be a great weekend, I'm sure, in Birmingham with lots and lots of athletes hoping to book their place in Tokyo for the World Championships. Right, on our way next, we are going to cast our eye on what perhaps is Cass's second favourite sport, golf.
Oh, yes.
With the Wyndham Championship. That's next. Good morning, this is Game Day Breakfast with the former Aston Villa and Gillingham striker Tony Cascarino. I'm Natalie Sawyer and we're with you until 10 today. Here are some of your headlines. The Tottenham captain, Heung-min Son, says he will leave the club this summer after 10 years. England dropped crucial catches late on the second day of the final test to leave India with the momentum at the Oval. The tourists eventually closed. A chaotic day on 75 for 2. That's the lead of 52. talkSPORT's Sam Allard will have updates on this final test between England and India once it gets underway from 11. And Liverpool have had an initial £110 million bid rejected by Newcastle for striker Alexander Isak. talkSPORT understands the Premier League champions are now prepared to walk away from the deal as a result. Speaking yesterday on Drive, the former Chelsea and Aston Villa midfielder, Cass's former teammate, Andy Townsend, finds that hard to believe.
That I would find difficult to believe based on the assumption that this is a player that they've identified that they want. They've obviously spoken to his agent, his representatives, his people, whatever, and they have an understanding. Liverpool, of course, they have that Isak would want to go there, and so I'm very surprised to hear that they're not prepared to go again, because the player has got to so unsettled now to the point where he's training with someone else. He's not even meeting up with his teammates on pre-season duty. So the hardest bit, in some ways, has already been done by Liverpool. The hardest bit is to somehow get to the point where Newcastle are even listening and are even prepared to maybe enter some kind of negotiation.
Do you agree with Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Liverpool have been rebuffed in their offer and gone, well, we're not getting him unless we go totally to 150.
Very big, yeah.
And I think Liverpool have already made moves to say we're not going to go there. They know the stance that Newcastle brought in place, and Andy's right that a lot of the hard work has been done, because, getting the player to, consider ruffling the feathers and upsetting a few Newcastle fans, well, good few, and obviously putting Eddie Howe in a difficult position. How's this going to be resolved? Well, he might end up signing a new deal like we saw with Morgan Gibbs-White, that they'll pay him the 300,000 apparently he wants. But
the only difference I will say on that is that Gibbs-White hasn't done what Isak has done.
No, I know that. He's gone. Look, we see this so often with players that if they don't get. I always say, you sign a contract, you have to honour it, and you might not like it that other clubs have come in, but you've signed it. Now, he's got 3 years to go, so it puts him in a very difficult position. I'm sorry, I just don't agree with doing some of the things that players will do. And Isak is training at Real Sociedad, and that might have been an option that he might have even done before if he'd been suffering an injury. He's, a club he previously played for. I just think there's a line in the sand on this one. And you've got to be careful with the club you're at, because...
Absolutely.
His pre-season has gone completely messed up by having his head turned. That's not Liverpool's fault or Newcastle's. It's sometimes down to the responsibility of a player.
Yeah.
Who has to handle himself in the right way, and your advisors around you. You don't have to go to the lengths that you've done.
Well, absolutely. And that's what frustrates me, because I know it's inevitable. We always go, well, they've been advised to do this. They've been advised by their representatives, their agent, their family, whoever. And at the end of the day, you think, they're an adult.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing. They don't have to follow the advice. No. They're only doing it because they want out. And that's the frustrating thing, isn't it, at the end of the day? If there are ways of going about it, and this doesn't sit well with anybody.
Yeah, really. You sometimes, and this does happen, you might have someone advising you to, well, maybe you have to ruffle a few feathers,
of course, yeah.
Upset a few, and you might have to make your stance of where you are if you want to get the move. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared to do that.
Yeah.
I might
be professional, yeah.
I might want to go, and this opportunity has come about. But Newcastle are a big club, and I can understand that you might think you can win way more with Liverpool because of how ambitious Liverpool have shown they can be in the transfer market, and with winning the title last year. I understand all of that, but you can't just throw your toys out the pram every time you don't get your way.
I think what frustrates me more than anything as well, Cass, because obviously my club is currently going through a similar situation. Most clubs have gone through a situation like this at some point. The PFA always stay silent on this. And I know that it's in part probably because they have to. They have to be discreet about everything going on. But sometimes I'd just like the PFA to come out to show they're actually doing the right things behind the scenes and saying, we are advising you or advising XYZ to not do this, or what, just because at this present, all I think is it's player power, player power, player power. And don't get me wrong, we also know that there are times where clubs will force a player out.
Yeah.
So it's not just one-sided.
Yeah, well, and that's what they're there for, if they're to defend the player.
Yeah.
But they're not there, in my opinion. I think they should be saying, well, you signed the contract. We can't help you in this situation.
That's it.
You're under contract to a football club, and we're not prepared to,
There is
side
a
with
minimum
you.
that is expected of a player.
Absolutely.
Turn up for training. And then hopefully, if the season starts, you might get that move, or you're going to have to play.
Yeah, they can't
it's
defend.
As simple as that.
They can't defend players who say they want to go and leave a football club. They can defend players who may have been treated unfairly at a football club.
Yeah, of course.
They
That's
can
different.
absolutely do that. But I don't agree with them. They're very silent at this time.
That's it, though. And you're right.
That's one of the issues.
When they feel a club is treating a player badly, we might hear something, but we're not hearing it when it's the other way around, and that's not right in itself as well. But anyway, we're going to move on, and we'll have plenty more, I'm sure, on this throughout the show. Very quickly to the golf. It's shaping up to be a thrilling weekend at the Wyndham Championship, where low scores are the story so far at Sedgefield Country Club. Unfortunately, the weather has played a bit of havoc with this one, hasn't it? So not all of the second round finish.
Yeah, well, it's quite common in North or South Carolina. It happens quite often. You get weather affected. And Cameron Young is top of the leaderboard.
The American,
interesting player. Aaron Rye. Now, he's a Brit. Always wears two gloves. And he wore two gloves as a child. And
we should say this is on either hand. It's not on one hand.
Yes, he wears two gloves, one on each hand, right? Which is really rare in golf. You hardly ever see it. But he thinks it gives him an enhancement to his grip. So he likes having the grip on both hands, which not many golfers do. They just have the one glove. But he's flying. He's doing really well. He's literally 13 under par.
Yeah, so
Cameron Young's 14. They haven't completed their round, so because of the weather affected golf course yesterday. But some really interesting things in this, Nat, is that there's Ryder Cup obviously places up for grabs, and there's some people, even if you look at the American team, Jordan Spieth, Nat, I mean, he's really had a rough time of it. And thinking of such a good player who's won majors, still trying to fight his way in the American team, might be one of the picks going into the Ryder Cup. But there's places up for grabs for the Europeans as well. Only really McIlroy is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Robert McIntyre will get there as well. But there's other players who are playing,
So you mentioned Spieth, he's 4 under?
4 under at the moment, yeah. Which he was so good for over a 2 or 3 year period. He looked like he was going to go on and get 6 majors, maybe more, and playing his best golf. And he's just battling at the moment. So lots up for grabs, and there's players in there that are, especially on the American side, who are trying to get these points, because the Ryder Cup is such a massive thing for golfers these days. So but Cameron Young leading the way, who's really had issues off the golf course as well, mental health issues, spoke openly about it, had difficulties, found golf with the challenges of, and the challenge for him is trying to be successful. He says that in itself gives him concerns, and he hasn't won this year. He has won before, but he hasn't won this year, but he's been getting closer. And he hits the ball like most golfers do now, country mile, most of them do. But he's exceptionally long for a golfer in any era. So, yeah, really good stuff in the Wyndham Classic, which is one of the big ones.
Yeah, as you say, Jordan Spieth then 4 under, as is Matt Fitzpatrick and Robert McIntyre, 2 Europeans that are hopeful maybe of getting into that Ryder Cup.
Well, he's had a good period as well, Matt Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
but I'm sure that there'll be choices anyway, picks.
Yeah, 3 under is the projected cut. A lot of the big names are missing, so there's no McIlroy, no Scheffler, for example. No. But yeah, still lots to look forward to, and we'll have live coverage of the Wyndham Championship at Sedgefield Country Club in North Carolina. Yes. Yeah. Over on talkSPORT 2 today. Right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to look ahead to then the EFL season, which has already got underway after Luton's win over AFC Wimbledon, and we'll delve into the back pages too.
Formula One. It's a sport often seen as insular and elitist, but it's seen a meteoric rise under its owners Liberty Media, not only in popularity and viewership, but in the ability to almost print money. From greater access to more races, here's how it happened. For decades, Formula One was owned and run by one man, Bernie Ecclestone. He was old school, someone who thought the sport itself was enough, and there was no need for all this modern marketing and social media nonsense. But in 2016, Ecclestone agreed to sell his baby to American group Liberty Media. It cost Liberty Media $4.4 billion, and they quickly got to work. We got an F1 app almost immediately, and teams were allowed to show us more from behind the scenes. One of Liberty's most important deals was with Netflix, which in 2019 brought us Drive to Survive. The effect? An almost 70% rise in viewership for races in the US alone. It's massively benefited Formula One online too, with a rise from 7.8 million followers across its social media platforms in 2016 to around 50 million today. New eyes are on the sport too, with F1's own subscription TV channel, which people can watch anywhere in the world. But the main market they've tapped into is the US. There's now 3 races there a year, in Texas, Miami and Las Vegas, and an American-branded team, Cadillac, getting involved in the sport too. More races seems to be the direction of travel. A street circuit in Madrid's being welcomed onto the calendar, while conversations around a Grand Prix in Africa have ramped up in the last few years. More big events could be in the offing too, after the massive F1 75 season launch event in London in 2025. 7.5 million people tuned in to watch it live across their social media channels, and that doesn't include the viewing figures for where it was broadcast on TV in certain countries. It seems Liberty will do whatever they can to grow the F1 brand. Their efforts have been worthwhile too, with Forbes valuing the sport at $17.1 billion back in 2023, almost 4 times more than what they bought it for in 2016. Not bad, considering it's seen as a sport where people just drive around in circles.
Good morning, this is Game Day Breakfast. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me it is the former Chelsea striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Now, can the Lions whitewash the Wallabies? Our coverage starts at 10 o'clock, that's after us. And the Lions head coach Andy Farrell has explained why he's only made a few changes to his final test squad.
Well, it's what's right for the group and how we see them pulling up after 2 test matches, etc. But what we've also done with them this week and how we freshen them up and whether we feel that they're in the right frame of mind and this is the best 23 to take the group forward.
And breaking news that emerged in the early hours of this morning. The Spurs captain Son Heung-min has asked to leave the club. Here's what he had to say at his press conference.
Before we start the press conference, I just want to share the information that I decided to leave this club in this summer. And respectfully, this club and is helping me to my decision. So I just want to share this information before we start the press conference. Thank you.
Yeah, it brings to an end a 10-year association with Tottenham. Now, League One continues this afternoon, and talkSPORT, the home of your EFL coverage, will have you covered throughout the season.
live football. It's what we do best.
Plays it across the face of goal, and it's in! Bradford equalise!
Onto his right foot, shoots straight on, it's in! Tento Alambe turns in Jack Diamond's shot, and Stockport are level!
Oh, what a hit! Harry Mills puts the push ahead!
Luton Town find themselves in the bottom three, back-to-back relegation.
Been here many times before, and I know that this club can get itself back into the Championship again.
Cardiff are relegated to the third tier of English football for the first time in 22 years.
Comes out to the edge of the area. Oh, what a goal! Miles Hippolyte, AFC Wimbledon are back at League One level after 3 years away. To the far post, Talaviero! He's headed it in! Incredible!
Plays it across the face of goal, and it's in! Bradford equalise!
And only one national radio station takes the EFL seriously, and that's this one.
Yes, so it all got underway last night in League One as Luton beat AFC Wimbledon. It came courtesy of a late own goal as well. So in the early embryonic stages of this League One table, not that really we should be considering it. As you can see, Luton were top of it after that win. But it kind of gives us the chance, Cass, to cast our eye over what we might think will happen. And many are suggesting that Luton are a team certainly to look out for after two disappointing seasons, to suffer relegation like they did from the Premier League. We touched on it earlier when we spoke about the game last night. To then suffer second successive relegation. No one predicted that at all. A huge, though, opportunity for Matt Bloomfield, who only took over quite late on, really, last season, for them to get back up. And now, if you look at their final 12 games of the Championship season, they were unbeaten in 9 of them.
Yeah.
So it goes to show how difficult a season it was, that they went 9 games unbeaten and they still weren't able to get out of the relegation picture, even though it all came down to that final game. But Luton strongly tipped to go back up, Cass.
Yeah, they are. And rightly so. I mean, it does help having parachute payments and being able to pay a certain wage and attract certain calibre of player. So Luton are in that position. So, yeah, Matt Bloomfield will know that this season the expectation is bouncing straight back. It won't be any different for Luton. But then, I was looking at the games today now and I'm thinking there's some, Leyton Orient. Think of Leyton Orient, the season they had last year. Nearly got over the line, nearly got up, got beat. The Charlton beat them, didn't they, in the final? And there they are. They got Huddersfield away, who were a team, they're playing today. They got relegated last year. So, there's lots of challenges, aren't there?
Huddersfield.
Huddersfield.
They weren't relegated last year, but I hear what you're saying.
But, they've got a challenge this year of Luton of what they can do, what they can achieve after they had many loans last year, Leyton Orient. It worked brilliantly. Yeah. It absolutely paid off dividends for them. But they're still in League One.
Well, they've got a great relationship with Tottenham, haven't they?
Yes, they had a few. Donnelly as well. I think he was there.
Yeah.
He was there. I watched him, and So, but they're challenges for Leyton Orient, and there's other. I always look at League One, and I think of also teams like Reading, who had absolutely every battle off the field to deal with, and still kept themselves in League One, because there was one period it looked really drastic.
Well, they just
Reading.
Finished just outside the playoffs under Noel Hunt, who
done really well.
Still in charge now. They've got new owners as well.
Yeah.
So the expectations will no doubt be slightly different. Reading may well be a team to look out for. Stockport likewise. I mean, they were in the running for automatic promotion and then slightly fell away, which saw Wrexham take the advantage to finish in that second spot. But, what were they? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4, 5 points off Wrexham. So it was only 5 points off the automatic promotion places, but they lost in the playoffs to Leyton Orient in that semi-final. But they certainly will be a team to look out for with Dave Challoner in charge as well.
Bradford promoted. Bradford got promoted, but get huge support with them. Got Plymouth in that league now. Obviously, the disappointing
with
from
Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, so there's League One has really grown in the last few years. I think all levels have, in conference and below. And I look as you go up, you go League Two, League One. There's clubs with great budgets and great support. So it's really good.
If you look at League One right now, as many as 8 clubs have in this century, shall we say, have played Premier League football at some point. since the 2000s. Yeah, since the start of this century.
A lot, yeah. I go back sometimes now. I look at years like early 90s and teams that were in the Premier League, and some of them are in Conference League. We've seen all these sort of things happen. But yeah, there's a lot of big clubs in there. Look, last year was an exception because obviously Birmingham were in there as well, got promoted. We've seen Wrexham get promoted into the Championship. That club has sort of grown as big as any club from where it was from a conference team to now where it is in the Championship.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fair play if you get it right.
Yeah, and some notable names to look out for as well. Lee Grant is the Huddersfield manager, who's obviously worked with Kieran McKenna, for example, at Ipswich, so has come through with some experience. You've also got Cardiff, who've got Barry Murphy as their new manager, and he takes his side, they take on Peterborough, I should say, later today in his first game, although they've had no summer signings as of yet and a few big name departures, but later on Robert Earnshaw will be joining us, so hopefully we can talk a little bit more about the state of Cardiff. But Barry Murphy, who previously worked, was it Rochdale that he was at, and then has had coaching spells behind the scenes at Manchester City, for example, I think Leicester as well. So, as I say, names to look out for. We mentioned Tom Cleverley too at Plymouth. And let's not forget Steve Bruce.
Blackpool, yeah.
Blackpool.
If you'd have said to me, I was in Gillingham's team with Brucey back in 1981 when I first started, and he was the centre-half, and he was always known to be the best centre-half at that level. But there were never that many takers early on for Brucey, and until he moved to Norwich, which was a great move for him, and he done brilliantly well for them, and then eventually went to Manchester United. Steve was a quality centre-half. I would say of his generation, he was really good technically. He played centre-forward at times as well. He was a really good finisher.
Really?
In his younger days, he could play up front, but he went and played at the back for Gillingham. But he was a fabulous finisher. And you saw that with the amount of goals he got as a centre-half. For club football, especially for Man United, he got goals regularly from set pieces. He was a very good finisher.
Yeah,
I was surprised Gillingham managed to keep him so long.
So a whole host of fixtures in League One for us to keep you up to date with GameDay live. There is a 12:30 game as well, which is Cardiff against Peterborough. As I say, Robert Earnshaw will join us to look ahead to it, and a little bit later on we'll talk about League Two as well, and of course Cass's beloved Gillingham are at Accrington today.
Yeah, Gareth Ainsworth. Yeah.
I know.
New manager.
The merry-go-round of managers, indeed.
Well, he'll know that level inside out. And Gillingham have been quite aggressive. Didn't quite happen last year for them. But hopefully Gareth can, put a good Gillingham team together and give them a chance of getting promoted.
Okay. Right. We're going to delve into the back pages for you next and just pick out a couple of stories we want to highlight. Morning, this is Game Day Breakfast. We're live on your radio, we're live on YouTube and your smart TV as well. It is a man who is yet to serve his 2-game international ban, Tony Cascarino, FIFA. Can you make sure he does that at some point, please? And me, Natalie Sawyer, with you until 10 today. We are going to go through the papers for you this morning, and we picked out a couple of stories that we think quite important to highlight, and in particular, this is all ahead of the Premier League season kicking off in a couple of weekends' time. And we've talked about Alexander Isak a little bit already.
Yeah.
And you've got a piece that sort of links to him.
Well, it's by Craig Hope, who everybody knows is the Daily Mail correspondent up in Newcastle, who...
he's very close to the scene.
Yeah, very, very close, and also he's upset a few media-wise and fan-wise with some of his articles. But he's doing what he has to do, is his job, and that's report what he's being told. Yeah. And the articles it's come from Anthony Gordon. It's an interview with Anthony Gordon, and Anthony Gordon says he feels sorry for Alexander Isak, and he knows exactly what he's gone through because Anthony Gordon had that experience with the PSR rules, didn't he, when he was literally going to be loaned out Liverpool or bought by Liverpool, and only because of them rules was moving on. And he talks about how difficult that time was for him, having his head turned, not sure what he's doing, going to the Euros, not playing, and felt it was really tricky now of a period. So he's sort of sympathising with Alexander Isak, as in, this is what he's going through now. I know a lot of fans will look at that and go, well, I don't quite agree because, he's a player that's got a contract with a football club that's being paid a huge amount of money.
Okay, yeah.
And having his head turned is not something that people are going to feel sorry for. Sometimes in life you just have to get on with it. So it's coming from his perspective because he said it affected him. Yeah. And also... he had very little time off. He had 4 days in one season, then he had a week off last year and didn't have enough time off and having his head turned, and now he's in a great space where he, without having all that speculation around him, is a much better place for him. I get that because players do get affected and mentally have to be right. It's not just the physical aspect of what you can do, it's mentally being in the right place because you can't play your best football if you're not mentally right upstairs.
Of course, yeah. And I get what you're saying, and you're absolutely right. The majority of us as fans will have no sympathy in some ways for players, especially when it looks as though they're forcing their way out.
Yes.
But it's always interesting to hear the other side of the story. And like you say, he's been through it, Anthony Gordon, but he also... he understands the pressure that Isak might be feeling himself.
Yeah.
And there might be an element of, look, Isak doesn't want to be so disrespectful, doesn't actually want to offend the Newcastle fans, still probably has an affection to them all, but it's just an opportunity that he wants to pursue. And look, we've already talked about it. We don't agree with the behaviour, but this is the way that he wants to handle it. And we all believe that's ill-advised, but he's mature enough to know that's probably not the best thing to do.
And also, and it's not really mentioned in this piece, Anthony Gordon did play a big part in leaving Everton.
Yeah.
And that didn't leave the Evertonians particularly too happy, did it? So you have to be careful when you're talking of these sort of subjects. As a former Evertonian, and how he departed from there to go to Newcastle, and having your head turned is just not going to, Joe Public won't feel sorry for you because you've had your head turned because you're in a very privileged position. But it also, and I'm sure you'd agree on this, Nat, is that there are things that go on that we don't know about.
Well, I was just thinking that.
Really upset.
There is a bubble that we're not privy to, we're not aware of, and that's why certain players, or most players actually, might have an element of sympathy for Isak and what's going on, especially if you never know how transparent he has been with his teammates. He might be saying, well, look, Liverpool have made it clear they want me. I've had discussions with them. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? We're just surmising here. We're just coming up with our own ideas. And at the end of the day, all these players know it's a job.
Yeah.
And we all want to have the best job. We all want to earn the most money if we can. So, obviously, like I said already, none of us agree with the behaviour. But it's sometimes nice to hear the other side of it anyway, how the other teammates are affected, if they are at all.
Yeah, it's like winning the lottery and then people feeling sorry for you because you won the lottery, isn't it? You're getting hugely rewarded.
Yeah, true.
And people won't feel sorry for you.
No.
I'm sorry, that's the realistic world outside. Yeah, we might not understand some of the stuff you've gone through, but also, it's not that big of a deal, is it? When if you're doing the right things and playing well, people will always want you. Okay, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You mentioned Everton already. That was Anthony Gordon's former club. That's a story that I'm picking up on in The Times today, which is written by Paul Joyce, and the headline is Moyes seeking quality, not just quantity, for his Everton rebuild. And the subheading is transfer activity has been slow, but clubs say they can deliver on managers' ambition. So they have signed a few players in this summer window, but in some ways you might say some that we're not necessarily aware of, that they're not the most notable names. That's not a problem, of course, but they've signed like a goalkeeper who's a backup for Jordan Pickford, Carlos Alcaraz, who'd been on loan last season at Everton. So in some ways, especially the Alcaraz one, you might not look at that as a signing because you've already seen him play, and it might not inspire you as such when you're looking for new players. And there's also been players that have been linked with the club who have, for whatever reason, then that's not gone through, notably Kenny Tete, who actually had a medical booked to move up to Everton, but in the end decided to stay at Fulham. I think he signed a new deal at Fulham as a result. And so, this article is just really interesting. I mean, they've been linked with Tyler Dibbling as well at Southampton. They bid supposedly £27 million. That, though, has been rejected for the youngster. And it's sort of a little bit alarming because within this article it says Moyes has only had 17 senior players for the duration of a tournament, and this is the tournament that they're playing in America. And when you consider 17 senior players, obviously not many, and there is a real worry about the season going forward. They've renewed contracts with Idrissa Gueye, Michael Keane as well. Obviously, Jared Branthwaite, massive news that he signed a new deal. But there is a little bit of a worry in this piece that they could be in for a difficult season, Cass.
Yeah, and in the article, I think he even mentions that Moyes was looking between 8 and 10 players to come through the door.
He has indicated they need to sign maybe 8 to 10.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're well short. And look, I get Idrissa Gueye and Michael Keane. They're squad players that you will need at certain stages of the season. But there's not much exciting news, considering they've got this new stadium and the club has got very ambitious with the type of stadium, and everyone's lauding it and how great a place it is going to be to play the football. But they're finding it very difficult to get players over the line. And, you know, I'm sure David Moyes, look, he had an amazing end to last season. Pulling Everton from where they were to where they got to by the end was an amazing feat. But he's got a lot of work to do to have this team, Everton, as a club, being competitive next season, because the expectation will be way more than it was at Goodison Park in the last couple of years, because it's been relegation battles. I don't think David Moyes has gone back for, you know, to fight relegation battles with this new particular stadium. So
that is what
you've got to back him.
That's what he said, if you remember, when he left West Ham, when he talked about still wanting to be a manager. He had said, I don't want to be involved in a club that's in a relegation battle. And obviously it turned out that he did with Everton, but the pull of going back to Everton was the reason he went there. And look, he obviously guided them to safety. But a real, as I say, concern that there isn't enough money necessarily as well for them to bolster the team going into the new season. But 8 to 10 players is what Moyes supposedly in this piece is looking for. And there's also the suggestion, of course, of those new signings, they can't make a mistake, because according to this piece there's been a few mistakes made. I'm sure Everton fans will understand that with some of the signings that they have made in the past, and that's something they don't want to go through again.
Well, he's always been a very prudent manager, hasn't he, with recruitment. It always feels like he absolutely wants to get every signing across the line that ticks every box. David Moyes was always known for that he goes over and over again, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, but sometimes, you know, clubs make felt transfers that come in through the door that haven't quite worked. And there's, like he said, there's been a lot of mistakes at Everton over the last few years.
And this summer, 11 senior players have left, hence why there needs to be this big overhaul. Just quickly, Tyler Dibbling, does Southampton link with Everton? Does that work for you, Tim, for him moving to Everton?
Well, quite clearly, David Moyes is looking for a player that's creative. And I watched him at Southampton towards the end of the season. He found it hard to get goals. But then Southampton, at the end of last season, were literally 11 behind the ball. You know, they were getting players in deep positions. I always felt he would be the furthest forward. But when the ball come to him, his only option was to go back into the play, back to his going backwards more than going forwards. That's what Southampton were like towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And he's a very, very technical player and someone who Moyes thinks can light up an Everton team. You know, they've got in good players in there. Everton have got a good few players there that they can make more of. And I personally think that sort of signing, if it was 27, 28 million, he's still a relatively very young man. But you want him to be an attacker. You want him to shine in forward positions because that's him at his very best.
Yeah. Not
being a defender. Of course, there's work rate and things you need to do to help your team. But his main thing is to be the creator.
Yeah.
And that's where Tyler Dibling can do. He's very capable.
Okay. We are going to concentrate once more on the EFL as it's the start of Leagues 1 and 2 this weekend. That's next. much for tuning into Game Day Breakfast this Saturday morning with the former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino and me, Natalie Sawyer. We're taking you through until 10, and then it's all eyes on Sydney for the final test for the Lions as they take on Australia, looking to pull off a series whitewash for the first time in nearly a century. We'll have more on that a little bit later on, but right now we are concentrating very much on the EFL that has got underway the new season, that after Luton beat AFC Wimbledon last night. Lots to look forward to as well today. talkSPORT 2 is bringing you a couple of games as well. First of all, Cardiff take on Peterborough. That at 12:30 kickoff, and then later on you better tune into the League One encounter between Bradford and Wickham. That one kicking off at 3. Pleased to say, joining us this morning to help us go through some of the talking points perhaps for this new season, former striker, EFL guru, or we shall call him, Sam Parkin. Morning, Sam.
All right, Sam.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Very well.
Yeah, good. I wonder how you slept last night after the Luton game. Wickham. It was a bit of a hard watch. You was there, wasn't you, Sam?
Yeah, I was on co-coms for Sky, so nice way to start the season. Yeah, not a good game at all by any stretch, but I think to be expected. Luton are a work in progress. I know both managers really well, and Matty Bloomfield had a bit of an upturn back in the last season. I think they won 6 out of the last 12, but you could see they're not a cohesive unit. They need to improve their attacking play. And Wimbledon are what they are. They're brilliant without the ball, Cass. They don't give anything away. Ryan Johnson was probably the best player on the night. I was just having a look at the stats to see that they matched my eyes. I was prized to give him man of the match. And then,
no!
He nods in the winning goal. So I deviated to Naki Wells, who I thought led the line pretty well on his debut in the first half. Few sights of goal for him, but the one bit of quality was his little floated ball that gets Luton the winner. Do you know what? It didn't matter how they won last night, Luton. Just good for the supporters to get up and running, and a little bit of hope, I suppose, after a dreadful couple of years.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, I know it's early stages, and you were saying there both managers have work to do, but do you expect either of them or both of them might be in contention to go up?
Well, I think you saw last night Jerry Yates has signed for Luton from Derby. He was paraded, and you can see they're short in attack, and I think that gives the squad, the club, an obvious boost, new players coming in. But it's going to take some hard work on a training ground. I think there'll be some short-term pain for Luton still. I don't buy into the fact that because the parachute money and because the squad they've accumulated, they're going to run away with the league. I think it'll be really competitive. And they've been losing games so frequently over the last couple of seasons. It's going to take a little bit of time, I think, for them. But yeah, obviously I'd fancy Luton to be strong. Wimbledon, they just got to stay in the division. Again, they've signed Dan Horsey, who had that amazing season at Crawley a couple of years ago when they got promoted. He got a hat-trick in one of the games I did for talkSPORT, the semi-final. Really good goal scorer at League 2. Can that translate to League 1? And that's where Wimbledon have to improve. They were the best, probably, team defensively, along with Burnley in the EFL last season, but they don't score enough goals. So they need to improve in that regard if they're going to stay in League 1.
Sam, first up today, we've got Cardiff versus Peterborough. Now, Brian Barry Murphy, I'm sure someone you'd know along the way, takes the helm at Cardiff in a very, very difficult scenario because obviously Cardiff last year getting relegated and all the troubles off the field. Tell us a little bit about him as a manager and what you expect, because he's got a bit of a CV even though it's his first job.
Well, I would have played against him certainly, but my main memory of him as a coach, given that he's been off, working in the background at Manchester City, would have been his spell at Rochdale, where they were pretty unique because it was very much a team that tried to play out from the goalkeeper, really easy on the eye when they got it right. Unfortunately, at Rochdale, they probably maybe didn't have the personnel, and they gave away quite a lot of goals. But yeah, so I think he's quite unique in that fashion. And for Cardiff, given their track record, I mean, they've been a mess the last, 5 years, maybe even since Neil Warnock got them up into the Premier League. I think the squad was a bit ageing. They rolled the dice last summer with a lot of new recruits, but the manager didn't work for one reason or another. So fascinated to see how they go. They've been really slow in the market, so I can't really lean on that to tell you how they're going to play. But he's obviously been at Manchester City working with Maresca and Guardiola, clearly, last couple of years. Really interesting appointment because they've not had a concise, clear plan. Maybe this is it. And I think it's been a long time coming because it's been a dreary watch. I think every time I've gone down to Cardiff in the last few years under various different guises.
And they're taking on a Peterborough side that, by their standards, you often see Peterborough in the shake-up for the playoffs, but last season was a difficult season for them. I think they finished 4 or 5 points off the bottom 4 in the end.
Yeah, again, interesting signings, recruitment. Even yesterday, they brought in a lad, Lolos, who was at Bolton, but part of that Crawley team. I think out of non-league, really gifted midfield player. So interesting signings, as you would expect from Posh. Just lost too many good players, Natalie, last summer, if memory serves. They've lost Poku this summer to QPR, which was an eye-catching signing for Rangers to get that one over the line. There was a lot of clubs into him. So they've lost their best creative spark. But, yeah, that was not in keeping, really, with Peterborough. In League One, you expect them to challenge. So let's see how these new guys get on. But Darren Ferguson got so much respect for him. I think he's an excellent coach. His teams are always attack-minded. They'll just be hoping, having lost so many good defensive players and a really good unit collectively about 12 months ago, that they can be better defensively.
Sam, later we've got Bradford taking on Wickham at home. Bradford, always huge support. I don't know if it's an advantage or disadvantage with them at times, because obviously when things are going well, it's great. It's rocking and rolling. But taking on Wickham, what do you make of this one today?
Well, there's a stat I wheeled out across the last few seasons. I think Bradford last year, their home form was scintillating. And as you touched on there, they really tapped into that vociferous support. I think it's the first time since they were down in League Two that they had top half home form. So that just shows you it's been a real hindrance for them getting it right at Valley Parade. So last year, I spoke to Graham Alexander at one of the playoff finals. I think he really tapped into that and got the players to thrive in that environment rather than being quite fearful. Because obviously it's a big game. It's an exciting game for any visiting player when they go there to a packed stadium. So they got that right last year. They lost Andy Cook, who's one of the best goal scorers in the lower divisions mid part of last season. But they dealt with that, and he went a little bit of a different way. He played with 2 10s, a bit more mobility, and they got the job done. Some interesting signings. Nerville was Wimbledon's probably best attacking player. They've taken him. So I expect them to probably consolidate. I'd be hopeful for them. Wickham obviously were pretty poor in the playoff semi-finals against Charlton. Kind of deviated away from their style, went a little bit more long ball to match Charlton. Loads of good signings, a lot from the continent, got big backing, Wickham. And as I speak, I think Kone, for my money, probably the best centre forward in the division, is still there, although there's a lot of vultures circling. So we will see in the next 24, 48 hours. But yeah, I wouldn't rule out Wickham having a tilt at promotion once more.
Wow, okay. It's inevitable, Sam, that I'm going to ask you this. In general, who are we tipping for promotion? Who are we tipping for the title in Leagues 1 and 2? Come on, you can do this, Sam.
League 1, League 2... League One, I suppose the two teams we haven't mentioned where you may get a bit more value, certainly Blackpool, Steve Bruce. We spoke about him a lot last year. I seem to recall good attacking side. In terms of eye-catching signings, Blackpool are the ones who've accumulated a really good side with experienced League One players, and Huddersfield, who I haven't mentioned. I think they're quite short, that said, but interesting story, Lee Grant, former goalkeeper, part of Kieran McKenna's staff at Ipswich. I think he used to actually take the attacking players, believe it or not, for a goalkeeper. Yes. So we may see something akin to Kieran McKenna's style.
That destroys your confidence, Sam, doesn't it? The goalkeeper's doing your finishing sessions.
I know. But yeah, they're... I suppose the comparison's been made with Birmingham. If you look at some of the names that have gone in, Harness, for example, who he would have worked with at Ipswich, Lowe from Wickham, he was kind of getting rave reviews. They've managed to get him as well. So, yeah, those two in League One. I think Chesterfield and MK Dons are difficult to look beyond those two. Paul Warne. I mean, that's a hell of a culture shift. MK Dons have always been a very fluid, tried to be a passing side, and Paul Warne's had great success with, you know, balls in the box, really robust, not adverse to playing a little bit longer, but just a brilliant personality, Paul Warne. So you can't discount them, and you can't discount Swindon, even my old team with Ollie, because since he's gone in there, they've been, I think they were 2 points off the playoffs. Had, you know, obviously the league started when Ollie took charge. Goals are plenty. Can't not love him. So
what about the Super Jills, Sam?
Oh, I knew that was coming.
They're slightly lower down on my list. I've just got them here. Hang on, Cass. Hang on.
You got to keep moving the page.
I'm not sure about Gillingham this year, but
Gareth
Fainsworth. Give Gareth a bit of time. That's what he needs, doesn't he? Because at Wickham, he built something incredibly unique. You know, speaking to the lads there, they love him at Wickham still. And everything you read, you have to believe he just creates that siege mentality. And I think that's what Gillingham probably need with the supporters as well after a few lost years, shall we say.
Well, Sam, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Cheers,
No
Sam.
worries, guys.
All
Have a
the
good
best.
show.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. That's Sam Parkin. He knows a thing or two about the EFL, doesn't he? Fabulous.
Yeah, too much. It makes me get.
I
thought Jules were going to have a good season this year. Well, that's
What does he know? What does he know?
Well, we never know. He knows a lot more than me.
I know, I'm joking.
Certainly.
By the way, we mentioned those two games live on the talkSPORT network. It starts Cardiff against Peterborough. That's a 12:30 kickoff. Then following that, we are at Valley Parade for Bradford against Wickham, kicking off at 3. Both of those are a talkSPORT 2 exclusive, and Faye Carruthers in the hot seat for both of those too. Okay, on the way next, we're going to get a little bit more focused on League 2 because that gets underway today. This is Game Day Breakfast. Pleasure to have your company this Saturday morning with a man who's happy to give Elton John a run for his money when it comes to spectacles. That's Tony Cascarino.
That's a name. You dropped a big name in there, didn't you?
Know. I was like, I just edited that. That was mine.
Did you?
Yeah. He's alongside me, Natalie Sawyer, as we take you through until 10. I mean, they are wacky, but I like them. They really suit you.
Do they? Thank you.
They do.
Yeah.
You pull off the weird and wonderful. Here are some of your headlines today. The Tottenham captain, Son Heung-min, says he will leave the club this summer after 10 years, scoring 173 goals for the club since his arrival in 2015. Wales's Lewis Rees-Zammit is leaving the NFL and the Jacksonville Jaguars to return to playing rugby union after 18 months. And Wrexham have signed centre-back Connor Cody from Championship rivals Leicester for an undisclosed fee. For more on the latest trending stories, talksport.com's Sean O'Brien has you covered.
Plenty happening over on talksport.com, but let's start in the EFL, which is officially back underway. We asked our EFL experts to predict who will be champions across the three divisions and also give us some players to watch this season. Then in the Premier League, a financial expert has revealed that even if Liverpool pay $150 million for Alexander Isak, it would only be the 9th biggest deal in Premier League history once you factor in football inflation. You can see the entire top 10 over on the TalkSport website, and you can also find out who Luke Littler thinks Man United should sign this summer as we put him to the test against our resident pub player. That's all over on talksport.com.
Sean, thank you very much. League 2 starts this weekend. Let's get some predictions from our TalkSport pundits.
My League 2 winners in the EFL this season are MK Dons. I think Paul Warne, having gone in as manager, is a really smart cookie in terms of his coaching ability, and he's won promotions from League 1 with Rotherham and Derby County, let's not forget.
It's all over. Rotherham are back in the Championship.
My selection for League 2 winners are MK Dons. Paul Warne is an absolute master at getting promotion from League 1, so why can't he go and do it at the first attempt in the division below?
The League 2 winners will be MK Dons, and that's purely based on the manager, Paul Warne. With a good squad, which he will have to work with this season, I feel this could be his 5th promotion.
And the full-time whistle goes. It's the Championship for Paul Warne and Derby County next season.
My League 2 winners are going to be MK Dons. Callum Patterson walking through the door, and Nathaniel Mendes-Lang. You know, Aaron Collins, for me, what a coup that is.
And what a stunning shot that's found the back of the net from Aaron Collins.
19 goals in all competitions last season for Bolton. He will kick on again, definitely at that level, League 2. So for me, that's the one that everyone's going to be chasing.
Does anyone want to be original? MK Dons, MK Dons, MK Dons, MK Dons. You had Ian Danter, Adrian Clark, Darren Ambrose and Chris Iwellabo all backing then MK Dons to win League 2, with Paul Warne, as we were hearing from Sam Parkin, the man in charge, who has had 4 promotions, we should say, under his belt, looking to get MK Dons back up into League 1. Cass, go on then, tell us about Gillingham. How are you hopeful that they can do anything?
I'm hoping, but I know very little about Gillingham, as in what they've done. I mean, I don't know if they've made actually any transfers this season so far. I know of 3 or 4 have left, but no, I don't know too much about. All I know is that Gareth's in charge now, Gareth Ainsworth, and hopefully they can get or replicate some of the things he achieved at Wickham, which was stability. And
this is it.
You know, that's what you're looking at.
You've got a manager there with pedigree, as you say, that has brought stability previously to Wickham.
It's so hard at this level now because the challenge is financially and, and being competitive. I mean, everyone there went for the easy option. Not even all of, Adrian Clark. Who did we have? And we had
Ian Dante, Darren Ambrose, Chris Iwellamo as well.
All gone for what they think is MK Dons. So there's not really doesn't feel like there's a second choice team there, is there?
I know. Job done, everyone.
Swindon was mentioned because of Ian Holloway. Obviously Sam Parkin said.
Well, they went on a great run, and he didn't get off to the best of starts when he took over at Swindon. But maybe by the end, he took 46 points from 26 games, which at that point was the third most in the division. So it shows the impact that he did make in the end.
Yeah.
And the problem is, it is so hard to make predictions. And so, we've asked these people, and they all have seen MK Dons. They all know how Paul Warne likes to play football. So we can't blame them that they've all gone for the same team if they feel that's the strongest unit out there in League Two. But the best thing about it as well is, let's not forget the teams that have come up from the National League, which are Barnet and Oldham. And we have seen in recent seasons that the teams that have come up... All right, just because that's your local club. I didn't mention Bromley, did I?
I'm more Gillingham than Bromley, I promise you.
No, I know that. But what I was going to say is that they haven't suffered an immediate relegation. They've all kicked on.
Yes, because the conference has improved. If you look at all the tiers of football and you go down, there's players in there that could make professional. I have no doubt about that. And that market has been ignored slightly because of the influx of foreign players coming from all different leagues across the board, But the standard of all levels of football, and I'm going from conference and below, has gone up, most definitely now. It's improved.
Yeah. What we know is it's going to be a fascinating season in all of the divisions. Of course it will be. And what teams don't want to be doing is being at the bottom end of the table, where you know that your EFL status is at risk. The teams that struggled last season but managed to stay up are Newport, Accrington, Tranmere. It's no surprise that a lot are predicting that those three will certainly be involved in the battle again. But MK Dons only finished 19th. And they finished, 10 points clear of the bottom two? So it's quite a rapid rise in predictions from the struggles they had last season to the possibility of promotion.
Yeah. Well,
goes to show the impact of one manager can might
one
make.
manager, and also what you are able to do at the club, of the amount of players you can bring in from different, you can always, what do you go for? If you're a League Two team and you get a number of players from League One that have prepared to drop down but have played a huge amount of games in League One, you feel like you've got a lot of advantage. And that's Paul Warner's taken players from League One, which is obviously a higher level. So if you can do that at a football club, that gives you a chance to get promoted.
Yeah. It will be, as I say, a great season to look forward to. And we are your home of EFL football, so do stay tuned to talkSPORT 2 for today's League One offerings. But throughout the season, we'll bring you League One, League Two and Championship football, of course. The Championship doesn't get underway until next weekend. But on the way, in the next hour, we'll continue to talk about the EFL, because the Cardiff legend, that is Rob Earnshaw, will join us to bring us his thoughts on his former team. And also in the hour, we're going to bring you the latest odds from Coral.
More green jackets have been lost at the 12th than at the Augusta City dry cleaners. Rory McIlroy knows this better than most. But what is Amen Corner and why is it so iconic? The famous sequence has always been there since the Masters began in 1934. It didn't get its name until '58, though, when American sports writer Herbert Warren Wind, on the left, wrote, "At the farthest reach of the Augusta National Course, down in the Amen Corner." He drew inspiration from the 1933 jazz song Shouting in That Amen Corner by the Dorsey Brothers. The reason behind its difficulty is all in the sand and the water. Tournament officials don't even bother to count the balls lost in there each year, such is the sheer number. The 11th, named White Dogwood, is a downhill 520-yard par 4 with a pond to the left of the green and a bunker to the right. Both cause a lot of trouble each year. The 12th, Golden Bell, is perhaps the most famous hole in the world, with danger everywhere. Many aim for the flag, but look, get it even slightly wrong, and you're in the azaleas at the back, or the bunkers at the front, or even worse, Rays Creek. Or you can play it safe and aim for the open green on the left. You chicken. Tiger Woods once said, if you make 4 bogeys from Thursday to Sunday, you're doing well. And the highest ever score on that hole? 13. It's a par 3. Tom Weiskopf in 1980 was the sorry soul. Often the iconic Ben Hogan Bridge is the only thing players enjoy about Golden Bell. Even if you escape there unscathed, though, you met with Azalea, the dogleg par 5 13th. It tempts players to go for the green in 2, but cut over those trees on the left at your peril. Every year, it seems, Amen Corner destroys someone's dreams. Rory McIlroy dropped 3 shots through here as his round unravelled in 2011. In 2016, a year after navigating Amen Corner expertly, Jordan Spieth shot a quadruple bogey on the 12th to throw away his green jacket. I mean, it sounds like my game, to be honest. So who'll be the next to be brought to their knees, praying for mercy after Amen Corner?
This is Game Day Breakfast. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me the former Crockenhill striker, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Last night, the new season got underway at Kenilworth Road as Luton edged past AFC Wimbledon 1-0. Let's hear what the Hatters boss, Matt Bloomfield, had to say about the win.
It was never going to be easy rocking up tonight. Everyone's turned up, waiting to see how we react to what happened last season and waiting to see if Wimbledon can get a result tonight. So we now understand the situation. There's going to be plenty of nights where we're going to have to be patient and probe. We've got a little bit of fortune tonight, and we're going to have to make sure we make our fortune more often than not.
Yeah, an own goal settled that game. Can the Lions whitewash the Wallabies? Our coverage starts after us at 10 o'clock, and the Lions head coach Andy Farrell explained why he's only made a few changes to his final test squad of this series.
Well, it's what's right for the group and how we see them pulling up after 2 test matches, etc. But what we've also done with them this week and how we freshen them up and whether we feel that they're in the right frame of mind and this is the best 23 to take the group forward.
And we'll have more build up to that throughout the show. And to the breaking news in the early hours of this morning, the Spurs captain, Son Heung-min, has asked to leave the club. Here's his announcement.
Before we start the press conference, I just want to share the information that I decide to leave this club in this summer. So, and respectfully, this club and is helping me to my decision. So I just want to share this information before we start the press conference. Thank you.
And hopefully in the next hour, Jay Harris from The Athletic, who was at that press conference in South Korea, will join us for more on that. But right now, let's concentrate on the EFL, which has got underway this weekend, Leagues 1 and 2, that is, with the Championship kicking off next weekend. Cardiff begin their League 1 campaign at home, and a lot of intrigue around the Bluebirds this season, in particular with their manager, Barry Murphy, who takes charge of a club facing a huge test. Relegated last season, bottom of the Championship. There is a lot of hope, perhaps, that they can get back to the second tier of English football. Joining us to talk all things Cardiff then is, well, a club legend. It is Robert Earnshaw. How are you doing, Robert?
Hiya, Robert.
Good morning, everyone. I am excellent. Thank you very much. What an introduction, huh?
Well, it's true, isn't it? You know, we speak facts here on talkSPORT. So tell us then, it's a big job, isn't it, for Barry Murphy?
I tell you, it's a huge job. It's a huge job because last season, and let's face it, the last few seasons for Cardiff City, it's been very, very disappointing. You know, you talk about a club that's been in the Premier League a few years ago, and then since then, it's kind of been this hope, slowly just whittling away, just that flame kind of dying down a little bit. And then I think this summer was a reality check, because I don't think any person inside Cardiff City, the board, anybody thought that they were going to get relegated. So I think there was some kind of safety there, but reality, bang, you get relegated. So this summer was about a reality check and some soul searching. So what they've done is brought in a new manager. What they've done is also allowed players to leave. I think about 14 players have left this summer. So it's going to be a new Cardiff City. It's going to be a new man on the touchline in charge. And it's a refreshed League 1 Cardiff City. So it could go always with Cardiff City. Listen, I've been inside the club, so I know it can always goes one or two ways. It's going to be absolute glory, or where everybody's hearts are on the floor. So, yeah.
I would say, Robert, last year the real problem, and I know it's a different level because obviously the Championship, but Carlan Grant was the top goal scorer in the league with 6 goals. It was a real issue. You as a centre forward, me as a centre forward, talking about the importance of goals. They haven't done much business in the transfer window. Yes, players have gone out, probably have to have a slightly smaller squad in the Championship. So many challenges for Barry.
Many challenges. And I tell you, it's going to be, you know, I think, listen, when I listened to the last probably week or so with Mr. Barry Murphy of his press conferences, almost every other question is, so what about transfers? What about transfers? And he keeps saying, we're looking, we're analysing it behind the scenes until somebody signs on the dotted line. That's when we'll confirm it. So I know they're looking. I know they're trying to, you know, bring in players. They do have, what I do like is you talk about transfers. I think sometimes transfers are the ones that stay also. Salic, he got goals last season in the Championship. I think he's got plenty of goals in the League 1. I think he's a really good player, and I think he will get goals. So they've got goals there. But they do need a little bit of strengthening. Like I said, 14 players going out. The likes of Aaron Ramsey, who was player, stroke manager, stroke kit man. I don't know. All of these things. so
accountant.
Yeah, exactly. So he's left.
Swaned off to Mexico, has he, with all the money?
Yeah, he's in Cancun, I heard somewhere. I don't know where. Now, listen, you know, former teammate of mine, Aaron, of course, we joke around, but he's left. So it's a real, it's going to be a real different Cardiff City, but I tell you what it does do. I mean, I was there when I was there. I was in that team that last got promoted from League One to the Championship in over 20 years ago, and what it did allow is young players to come through. I was a young player at that time, saying, "Give me the chance." And I think that was the season I actually broke the record for Cardiff City. So it allows for young players, the likes of Ruben Colwill now, who's kind of going to be given an opportunity, responsibility, somebody like him. And I think it's going to give a chance to these young players. I think they're looking at that. Mr. Barry Murphy is also well renowned for coming through Man City's academy and being a developing coach rather than a guy who says, you know, give me these 5 players, buy them, bring them in. I'll mix in some youngsters and then that's how I'll do it. He's literally been given, okay, you're going to work with young players. And if we can do business, that's a bonus. So he's there and it's set. And we'll see. They play for, obviously, Peterborough as the first game. But I think it's going to take probably the club, I would probably say 6 or 7 games to really get used to, because he does bring that footballing style, which is kind of, I think probably a lot of the people around Cardiff City have been kind of moaning about, to be honest. It's been, oh, what type of team are we? Are we a footballing team? Are we not? Sometimes we are. Sometimes we kick it along. Are players good enough to fit in? You know, it's been poor quality. You talked about goals last season. Very, very poor goals in the last 2 or 3 seasons. So all of these things are, you know, set up for Cardiff City to hopefully defy the odds, bounce straight back. That's the ideal. That's what I would like to see.
We were talking about it earlier on as well, saying that the League One as it stands, if you go back to the start of this century, 8 clubs, as many as 8 clubs, will at some point had played in the Premier League. So it kind of goes to show that there's a lot of big names in this league, and we've seen it all the time now. It's so hard to get out of League Two, League One, Championship sometimes too. It's not an easy challenge for any side.
It's not an easy challenge at all. I tell you, I think the difficulty and kind of having that experience is sometimes the first season you feel strong. You just got relegated, yes, but you tend to feel strong as players because you feel like, okay, no, we don't want to be in this league. We want to be in the league above. We've played at the league above. It's never going to be as a higher quality. Maybe 5 or 6 teams will be, but we can get out of this league. And then you've got the next season. If you don't do it season 1, you've got the next season. After that, it really, really doubles how much you can probably not go up, to be honest. So Cardiff have got this season. I think they've got a chance this season, a real chance. But you can't go past next season because it becomes way more difficult to go back up. But listen, I think it's there. I think the biggest thing what's happened this year or this summer, a couple of things I've noticed. One, they took so long to bring Mr. Barry Murphy in, and it took half the summer. For me, when you take half the summer, you're already behind. So Cardiff City have already been behind in terms of having a manager in, and the timing it took too long to bring a manager in. And then number 2, this thing about, we talk about Gareth Bale and this consortium trying to buy the club. It doesn't affect players that much, but it's still kind of around the club because what it will affect is more the board. The board will be talking signings with the manager, but are they then committed to bringing those signings? Because they might be thinking about, oh, are we selling the club? Are we not selling the club? That's where it kind of interrupts the board a little bit and maybe recruitment. Now, is that why we haven't seen signings coming in? Maybe. We'll. I think the next couple of weeks will be interesting to see.
Well, when Barry Murphy, took the job, Robert, is that, obviously having Maresca and Pep Guardiola as people that he's worked with, that you're going to have a side that's going to want to play in all areas of the pitch. Now, as we saw with Russell Martin at Southampton, it worked for them in the Championship. But you've got to have players that come in who are technically good enough to be able to play that way, not give away soft goals, who are capable of receiving the balls in certain areas. That's going to be one of his challenges in League One, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you're talking to somebody who's Pep Guardiola was actually one of my favorite players. And then he became a coach. I've seen him from day one. So I've literally watched from day one the evolution of Pep Guardiola, how he plays. And I've gone and studied it as well. So you're talking about somebody who kind of knows that there's not another Pep Guardiola. And that's the thing. And if you're going to kind of play, it's very difficult to emulate Pep Guardiola. And it may.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, we've lost Robert.
Just as he was getting to the good bit. Robert, thank you. Anyway, it was a real privilege to speak to you, but unfortunately, you know what it's like. He's frozen in time. Yes. But, you know, he's optimistic about Cardiff's chances, certainly. And you can hear how they fare because that first game against Peterborough, kicking off at 12:30, is live on talkSPORT 2 this lunchtime. OK, we'll take a break. When we return, latest odds from Coral. morning. You're tuning into Game Day Breakfast. We're live on your radio, YouTube and smart TV as well. It is Tony Cascarino, the former Republic of Ireland striker, who is with me, Natalie Sawyer. We take you through until 10 o'clock this morning, and then it'll be all eyes on Sydney for the final test as the Lions look to whitewash the Wallabies for the first time in nearly a century. Wow. Well, that is history makers, perhaps, then. Right now, it's time for us to bring you the latest odds from Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Good morning, John Hill. How are you today?
All right, John.
Good morning, Nat. Good morning, Cass. Yeah, really good form. Thank you, Natalie. It should be a great weekend of sport, shouldn't it? Fantastic to have the football season back, certainly in League One and League Two, and plenty of rugby, cricket and all sorts going on today.
John, can you give us someone who's a better odds than or more value than MK Dons? Because everyone on talkSPORT keeps saying MK Dons, and that's it.
Yeah,
no one else has got a chance.
No, everyone who I speak to as well, absolutely. They're all on the MK Dons wagon, and incredibly, they were about 8-9 to 1 6 weeks ago, Cass. But they've had a fantastic transfer window by the looks of it. You know, done some really good business, some quality players in there. They're now 11 to 4 favourites to win League Two. So that is the big gamble.
They haven't won a game yet, John.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. We all start level, don't we? But the confidence is high behind them, and yeah, they're certainly expected to be up there. But look, if you don't fancy MK Dons, you've got Chesterfield at 6 to 1, second best in the betting, and Bristol Rovers 12 to 1. The team I quite like to be up there, Cass, this year, Barnet. They absolutely walked the National League last year, and you know, teams that have done well in the National League then the next season tend to do well. We've seen many teams do it over the years, haven't we? So I think they'll be up there. They're 16 to 1, Barnet, and I think they're real value at that price.
Yeah. We saw last night Luton getting off to a winning start against AFC Wimbledon. What price are they to go back up to the Championship?
Yeah, they left it late, didn't they, Luton, last night? 85th minute, the winner in that game. They're another team that have been well backed, Natalie, throughout the summer. They're 3 to 1 favourites. They're still getting those parachute payments, aren't they? They're obviously in the Premier League only 2 or 3 years ago, so that's certainly going to help their cause. So 3 to 1 favourites to win League One. We saw Birmingham walk it last season as favourites. In terms of challengers, Huddersfield 11 to 2 next best. Cardiff are 15 to 2. And Stockport finished third last year. They're 15 to 2. So, yeah, very excited, isn't it? We'll have the Championship next season, next week, I should say. And then the Premier League the week after. So it's going to be a long old year, isn't it? With that World Cup that follows as well. We've just had the FIFA Club World Cup. It's a lot of football for these guys to be playing.
John, I'm really annoyed this morning because I watched the cricket yesterday against India. We haven't spoke about it yet, and I thought I'm watching it all day. I'm going to sound really smart on the cricket. I've got all my ideas of what a great test it's been. You know, looking, a little bit of, there's a little bit of stuff going on behind the scene, a little bit of sledging happening.
I like that. I like it. Yeah, and
it's
spice.
And it's really tight, it's in really closely knit, aren't they, together? There's not a lot to choose from. Slight advantage, maybe, England.
All right, we know you watched it, all right.
I know, I nearly got it all off my chest. No, John, give us the prices because I'm gonna shut up now.
Well, I think you've summed it up just perfectly. Everything you've just said there, Cass, is bang on the money. This has been a brilliant test series, and we get in the finale that we deserve. So we can't separate the two teams at the moment in the betting, Cass. Even money England, even money India. Take your pick from here. India resumed batting today, 75 for 2. They've got a 52-run advantage, but it's doing a bit for the bowlers this wicket. So England will fancy the chances this morning of getting a few wickets and hopefully hold them out for under 250. I think that'll be the target for England. But yeah, it's been a thrilling series. I'm heading to the Oval this morning to watch it, so can't wait. The weather's set fair. I was there Thursday, got absolutely drenched. It didn't half come down around 1 o'clock. Heavens opened and we were soaked. So today it was soaking and baking in the sunshine.
Yeah, a bit spiky it was yesterday towards the end.
I think it's brilliant. I really love it when there's a bit of spice around. I do, yeah. And Joe Root, he's the calmest player you'll ever see in your life. And he got a bit agitated yesterday with one of the bowlers, didn't he? So if he's getting agitated, we all are.
Well, I tell you what, if the groundsman comes running on, then we know we've got an issue, haven't we? We won't go there. We won't go there.
That's right.
We've mentioned it already, the Lions looking to create history. What chance can they do it then in this third and final test against Australia?
Yeah, well, we expect them to now. They're 1 to 3 favourites. They did it the hard way last Saturday. That was a thrilling morning, wasn't it? Coming from behind and sealing the series. But they'll want to get that whitewash. You mentioned it earlier, Natalie, 100 years since we last whitewashed them. So we'd love to do that against the Aussies. Australia, 11-4, just to get a victory on the board and a consolation. And the handicap market is -9 this time. So if you fancy the Lions to win by more than 9 points, that's even money. Or you can have the 9-point advantage with Australia at even money as well.
John, day 5, glorious Goodwood. We've seen all sorts of weather. The storm was incredible. What day was it?
Yeah.
Thursday, the storm?
Yeah, it was Thursday it came down. Yeah,
Thursday it came down. So lots of great racing this week. So tell us what we expect today.
Yeah, well, it's been a great week so far, and we had an extraordinary result on Wednesday, I think it was, Cassie, the Sussex Stakes. Kira prevailing at 100-50-1, so that was just unbelievable. The biggest price winner of a Group 1 in British racing in history. So it's just been one of them weeks. It's been hard to find some of these winners, I have to say. But in terms of today, 2 big races. We've got the Lily Langtree, which is a Group 2 for fillies and mares at 2:30. And in terms of endearment is the 3-1 favourite there. And then the big race at 3:05, the Stewards Cup, Coral Stewards Cup. 27 runners in this sprint race over 6 furlongs. Incredible. It's always a great spectacle. And Hammer the Hammer, the 5-1 favourite there. So I think that will no doubt appeal to a few West Ham fans today. Hammer the Hammer.
Absolutely. Love the name. Fabulous.
Great name, isn't it?
John, enjoy the Oval.
Thank you very much. Yeah, have a great day, guys.
Just calm it down, though. Don't get involved in any of the shenanigans, yeah?
I'll behave myself.
Oh, good. Brilliant. That was John Hill from Coral. It is 18 and over. BeGambleAware.org. Please do gamble responsibly.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for it. 18+, BeGambleAware.org.
We've had a message in earlier. I wanted to quickly get your thought. Go on. You've got something to say, haven't you?
I was going to say, do you know when because you do a lot more prep than me, because you need to. No.
That's a disgrace. Dump
No.
that.
You know when you do your prep and you think, I'm going to watch the cricket, and I was looking forward to watching it anyway, and then no one's mentioned it. We haven't even mentioned it. England versus India at the Oval.
You've mentioned that twice within the last minute, just because you're desperate to change it.
Sometimes you do a bit of work, and I know you're itching to get to what you've been reading or learning on last night, yeah?
Yeah, all right. What's your point? All right, we haven't done it yet. We might still have time.
How can we have not done anything on the cricket, producer?
I say nothing. I'm saying nothing. He's having a pop at you, Tony, just so you know. He's not listening. Standard.
He's not even smiling.
No, of course he's not listening. He's just blank faces. No, very quickly, I wanted to say, David Marshall, about Son. He said, he says, with all this talk about Son, I thought you were going to call for testimonials to be brought back. Obviously, we don't really see them anymore.
No, they don't really happen. No.
But they would be nice.
For a certain, well, yeah. I mean, look, they were great for charity because obviously great donations were being made on behalf of testimonials and for respect of a player.
Yes.
You know, David O'Leary had 3. 3. 2 with Arsenal, 1 for 10 years, 1 for 20, and 1 with the Republic of Ireland.
Wow.
3 testimonials.
Crikey. It all went to charity. What a lovely man.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Obviously, Son wouldn't, if he did have one, he wouldn't be doing it for his own pocket.
No.
He'd like to think it would go to charity. But it'd be lovely if they were to do something like that.
Yeah,
obviously,
of course.
We don't have time now, but at some point it'd be nice.
They don't need money, from a testimonial now. These players, they can give it all to charity and do it as a great send-off as well.
It would be a nice idea. And I'm sure Tottenham fans would love to say goodbye to him officially in some sort of, farewell game over here at some point. But we shall see. Okay, we're going to bring you the latest transfer news next. morning to you. This is Game Day Breakfast with the Republic of Ireland's fourth highest goal scorer, Tony Cascarino, who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer, and we're with you until 10 this morning. What is so funny?
Fourth.
I know. Well, it means they're a lot worse than you. Fourth is pretty decent, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have liked to have been a bit higher because Robbie Keane's just run away with it. And he's literally got goals way more than everybody else. Aldo, John Aldridge, Frank Stapleton, Noel Quinn.
Yep. Speaking facts. I don't know what you want me to say.
Nowhere to go from there then, is there?
Can't change it, I'm afraid, unless you get back to playing football. I don't think that's happening, especially as you've got a 2-game ban still to serve. Yeah. Right, it's time for us to take a look into the latest stage of this transfer window and all the stories doing the rounds. Delighted to say, joining us this morning, it is our very own chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. Morning, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Alex, so we all woke up this morning to the news that Son Heung-min has decided to call it a day at Tottenham. I suppose the question is, where next for him?
Absolutely not a massive surprise. I think this has been in the offing for some time. I think there was an agreement in his contract that he needed to go and participate in this tour over in the Far East because we know what a huge attraction he is to fans in that part of the world, and then would be allowed to leave. He has now informed Thomas Frank and Tottenham that he wants a new challenge. I think having won the Europa League, and I was watching him and how happy he was going through the mix zone after that final in Bilbao. He's decided now is the right time to bow out after 10 years at Tottenham. In terms of his next destination, we know there's been interest from Saudi Arabia. I think a move to the States and LAFC is more likely. Tottenham will get a fee, but he's going to be a hard act to follow, isn't he? Not just in terms of what he does on the pitch, but his leadership. Obviously, he's taken the captain's armband. And I think when Tottenham fans look back on the career of Son, they will probably remember it most fondly for that incredible partnership that he formed with Harry Kane.
Yeah. Alex, one of the strangest things over the last few days is that Liverpool have offered a fee, which they now say they're not going to push on. And, normally we see one bid, second bid, third bid, maybe. And Newcastle are holding firm at 150 million. Are we at a case where Newcastle want 150, Liverpool won't pay that, and that's the end of the story? Is that where we are?
Well, there's still a month for the transfer window to run, and it would be a surprise to me personally if this was the last we hear of the Alexander Isak saga, if you like. And I think it has become a saga from when Liverpool first made an informal approach to Newcastle, to him not going on the pre-season tour, to him then deciding that he'd fly to Spain and use the facilities of his old club, Real Sociedad, during his rehabilitation rather than Newcastle's training ground. Now, as you say, this formal offer, my understanding is it went in yesterday morning, was rejected within hours, and then obviously it came out into the public domain. I think it would have been in or around a British record number to include the add-ons. Liverpool certainly aren't going to pay £150 million for Alexander Isak, nor I don't think they're going to get drawn into a cycle of rejected bids. But I still think if they get the nod from Newcastle, maybe having sourced a replacement with Isak digging his heels in, that they're willing to do business, then yes, I think Liverpool would come back to the table.
And obviously, just staying on that with the Isak situation, that doesn't alter anything about the Wisa bid potentially that we might have seen with Newcastle and Brentford.
Well, I think they are moving on to other targets because this is proving to be a difficult deal to do. As you know, Matthew Benham can be a stubborn businessman when he wants to. They've already lost Brian and Bumo. I'm told that Keith Andrews, after that transfer to Manchester United went through, made it pretty clear to the Brentford hierarchy they couldn't lose Wissa as well. Obviously, Wissa's point of view is that there were certain promises made that if a particular number was hit this summer, he would be allowed to leave. He has been at the training ground but is refusing to train with his teammates, which is obviously a very extreme course of action. Newcastle would still want to sign him, but I think ultimately it comes down to whether Brentford are willing to sell. Even with Isak there, they need at least one forward, Newcastle, because they've obviously let Callum Wilson go at the end of his contract. I think he's asking a lot for young Willis Sula to step up and be a regular in the first team. If they were to sell Isak, I think they probably need two forwards. And then you talk about the likes of Ollie Watkins potentially being on their list of targets.
One of the ones attractive and the player I really like is obviously from Bayern Munich, who done brilliantly well for Fulham when he was over here, was Paulinho, a terrific footballer. Injuries last season, too many of them, Alex. Where is that deal now? It's the loan and with the permanent fee if they match it.
Loan with an option, yeah. The option's around 30 million euros, so quite a lot less than Bayern Munich paid Fulham to sign João Paulinho. I was surprised at the time we went to Germany that some of the bigger teams in the Premier League, the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United and even Liverpool themselves weren't looking at João Paulinho, because I thought he was excellent for Fulham. He has lost his way a bit in Germany. He's a couple of years older now, obviously, than he was when he was last in the Premier League. But I guess it's fairly risk-free from Tottenham, because if it doesn't work out, it's only a loan deal. If it does, the option is relatively cheap. And obviously he'll come back with a point to prove, having not really been able to do it at Bayern Munich. And I think if you look at his profile, he's similar to Christian Norgard, who obviously was quite fundamental to what Thomas Frank did at Brentford. So I think he sees him in that Norgard-type role. It will mean departures. I think Ibasuma, for one, has been told that he can find a new club. But yeah, this could turn out to be quite a shrewd bit of business for Spurs.
And earlier on, when we were doing our paper review, we touched on Everton and the situation that they find themselves in, sort of a slow transfer window so far for them. Suggestions that they have 17 senior players for David Moyes to work with on this current tour of the United States that they're on, or certainly part of this summer series. But there has been links to Tyler Dibbling at Southampton. Any more on that?
Yeah, a bid went in for him middle of the week, £27 million plus add-ons. That was rejected by Southampton. They're looking for north of £40 million for a very exciting young player, albeit one who's not played that many games in the Premier League. So I'd be surprised if Everton were willing to go as high as £40 million. But it's been a frustrating summer so far for David Moyes. He's been pretty quick to voice that. They've got Tierno Barry, who's coming up front as a Dominic Calvert-Lewin replacement. I know within the club they're quite excited about his potential. They signed a young fullback from Bayern Munich, Asnu, as well. But they need bodies, as you say. What was it? More than 10 players who were out of contract at the end of last season who've left the club. I know they're looking at Douglas Luiz, who's keen to come back to the Premier League. There is an ambitious attempt to try and sign Jack Grealish on loan, but I'd expect that to go late in the window. And actually, there was a few whispers in Italy yesterday that Napoli have not given up hope on him. So at the moment, if you're looking for teams looking nervously over their shoulder, in terms of those teams coming up from the Championship being more competitive, I think you have to put Everton on that list.
Yeah, well, look, there's some good players available. I don't know if they go to 40. I really find that's a hard one, isn't it, to get to 40 million. I don't think they'll do that. What about Chelsea? Obviously been really, really aggressive in the market. And more incomings are we looking at, Alex?
Yeah, we got two deals that are pretty close now. Jorel Hato for €40 million. Xavi Simons as well, I think, probably will get done. And then I still think the Alejandro Garnacho move from Manchester United to Chelsea is bubbling under the surface. I know that Paul Winstanley, I've reported this on talkSPORT earlier this week, one of the sporting directors there, remains keen on Garnacho. But again, they're going to have to trim the squad, aren't they? People like Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell, Badia Shil, Axel Disasi, I think are all going to have to be moved on. And they're just players off the top of my head. I think there's probably 10 players on the books at Chelsea who they're going to try and move. So I think we're going to be talking about Chelsea, as we seem to every window, quite a lot between now and the start of September.
Alex, I just wanted to ask you one more, and I should have probably asked you off the back of Everton, but me and Natalie were talking, spoke about Calvert-Lewin, and, you know, so far no takers, a player that's played a hell of a lot of Premier League football. Any idea what's going to happen, or any interest? Or because I'm looking at it from the outside, does it get to the stage where we're in August now, and he's on a free transfer, but no one's taken him up?
Same with Jamie Vardy at Leicester and Callum Wilson, although a contract on the table from West Ham for Callum, terms pretty much agreed there if he decides that he wants to make that move to the East End. In terms of Calvert-Lewin, I think his wage demands were a barrier when it came to Everton thinking about renewing his contracts, and he spoke to Leeds earlier in the summer and they weren't prepared to pay them either. I guess the nearer we get to the deadline, although obviously being a free agent, he can sign actually after the window closes, but he's going to have to lower those demands. I still think somebody in the Premier League or maybe the top end of the Championship will take a chance on Calvert-Lewin, because yes, he's had injury problems over the past couple of years, but when he's fully fit, he can score goals at the top level. And those players are in short supply this summer.
I find that strange. If Everton can't afford to do a deal, put a deal together for him, and no one in the Championship can, surely, Alex?
As I say, I think it will have to lower his demand. I think Everton's point of view was that the money he was asking for was just too much when they look at his injury record over the past couple of years. And you look at Callum Wilson, for example, I think if he does sign for West Ham, that will be a fairly minimal wage. I say minimal, it's all relative, isn't it, in terms of Premier League wages these days, but with extra money for appearances and goals. And maybe Callum Wilson, maybe Calvert-Lewin might have to look at a pay-as-you-play deal himself.
Yeah.
Alex, thank you for running us through the latest.
No problem.
Great to have you with us. That is our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, then, with some of the latest deals and rumours, etc.
Do you not think that you've been a footballer as Calvert-Lewin has been for 10 years or plus, as in professional for the first team, he's been in the first team since 17, 18. That after all that period, the one thing you shouldn't be thinking about how much money you're going to get from this move. It should be about playing football as regular as you can and signing a deal that the club will benefit and you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course,
I don't get why the stance of, even Everton looking at him and thinking, well, we can offer you this, but you'll have to be able to play more football for us.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Especially when you've had such bad seasons recently with injury, that you're always going to find yourself in this situation where teams aren't going to want to meet your demands because they don't know if they can trust your body to come through a season.
Absolutely. And I'd be saying, if I was sitting next to opposite, I'd be saying, well, we only pay you this if you play these amount of games. There's no negotiation on that. Yeah. We can't have someone sitting on the bench, or the treatment table week in, week out, and we're paying you this amount of money. No. Yeah. It's got to work for us as well.
Yeah.
And I just don't see him getting the right move until them demands, and we don't know what they are, but work for the club as well.
And what do you make of Callum Wilson to West Ham?
Again, it has to be. Callum's a fine player. He's not that long ago. We was watching him in Qatar playing for an England strip. If he's playing football, absolutely, you pay him the wage that he would deserve. But if he's not, you can't. You just can't. You can't have an injury record that allows you to play. It was my argument on Varane when he went to Manchester United. I always said he plays 50% of the games. You can't play him 250, 300,000 man a week. You pay him 100 at best and then add on everything else with the amount of games he plays.
OK, in the next hour, we are going to focus on the Lions then and whether or not they can create history by winning that third and final test against Australia. And lots more to come here on Game Day Breakfast too. this is Game Day Breakfast with a man who has the freedom of the French city of Nancy. That's Tony Cascarino, who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. Here are some of your headlines today. Ryan Johnson's unfortunate late own goal gave Luton a 1-0 winning start to the League One season as they beat AFC Wimbledon at Kenilworth Road. England dropped crucial catches late on in the second day of the final test to leave India with the momentum at the Oval. The tourists eventually closed a chaotic day on 75-2. That's a lead of 52. talkSPORT Sam Ellard will have updates on the fifth test between England and India then from the Oval from 11. And Pape Matar Sarr's 45-yard goal won Spurs the first North London derby of the season, beating Arsenal 1-0 in Hong Kong. It's the first time a North London derby was played outside the UK. Speaking to Alex Crook yesterday, former Arsenal winger Perry Groves said he didn't mind the game being abroad so long as there were no major injuries.
Then you see the first North London derby ever played outside these shores and you think, no, that ain't great either. All I want to do is see Arsenal players not injured. When we 1-0 down, I was at the Emirates yesterday, actually, at a tour, and I was just thinking, when the tour's finished, just let it be 1-1, just so that it calms everybody down a bit. But honestly, I'm not bothered about the result because you want all of your players fit and flying for the first game of the season up at your mob. So it's just about not getting injured. And as a player, you'll play at probably 75-80% because you want to get injured either.
It's interesting, isn't it, pre-season? Because I do sometimes see fans going into meltdown when results haven't gone their way. And, especially when you've got like a game like this, a derby, there'll be Arsenal fans. And I'm not saying all, but there might be some that will have been furious by the defeat and then maybe thinking, what does this mean for the season, etc. Pre-season results, they don't matter.
No, they don't. It's all about getting yourself ready and prepared for the Premier League. And that's it. Winning this game in, wherever it was played. Was it Hong Kong?
Hong Kong, yeah.
Hong Kong, might get you a little bit excited about seeing the result, but it means nothing in terms of what's going to happen beyond there.
Yeah, well, especially when sometimes we've got to remember with friendlies, you're not your first 11 that starts the first 45 might not be the same 11. And, we see it chop and change.
No, I've had great pre-seasons and terrible ones, and they've generally meant very little as into the season you've had afterwards because the intensity is completely different now. They are glorified friendlies. That's all they are. And yes, there's a rivalry between Spurs and Arsenal. Does it mean anything? No, not at all.
Yeah. It's not like we're going to go into the first North London derby of the Premier League season going, Spurs won in Hong Kong. It means they're going to win, that sort of thing.
You're not quite as committed. If you've got a 50-50 in there and you think, you're not going to go through someone and get yourself injured before the start of the season, which I'll say go through someone, but make a challenge that's needless. I mean, I've had conversations with managers say don't do something daft. The last thing a manager wants is 6 players before the start of the season sitting on the treatment table.
Exactly.
Because they've committed so much in a friendly. They'd be saying, why? Why did you do that? You don't need to do that. Yes, you can get yourself up to speed, and that's it. It's all about being at the best level you can for the opening game of the season.
Yeah. Well, for more on those stories, you can visit our website. That's talksport.com. Now, there is less than 2 weeks to go now before the start of the Premier League season, with newly promoted Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland hoping to remain in the league and avoid relegation. As we know, for the past 2 seasons, the 3 teams promoted from the Championship have all been relegated the season after. I'm just reading this link that clearly is not being finished, which is very helpful. Sean Dyche, shall we just say, was on talkSPORT earlier this week. This is what he had to say then about the step up from the Championship to the Premier League.
The 3 come up, 3 go down. Same 3. That's how big it's getting. The gap is increasing. I've been frustrated. I've spoken openly about it. Whether we're playing the right way, and you go, well, you went down. Now about staying up playing the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I hope these clubs can learn from not my experience, what I'm saying, but from their own experience, and go, right, can we maybe out-slick it in the Premier League like we did in the Championship? Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Burnley tried to do that under Vincent Kompany, fantastic manager of the years, and gone on to great things. But the point is, they tried to do that, it didn't work. So I'm interested to see with these 3 teams, if they change their style and go, no, hang on a minute, we're going to have to be more resilient maybe, or we're going to have to defend more, or we're going to have to defend more as a team. We're going to have to play on a defensive model.
Okay, so that's what Sean Dyche had to say. As we mentioned then, it's Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland who have all come up. Cass, do you think any of those three are in a good position to maybe stay up?
Well, Leeds have done a lot of business, haven't they, so far? Without naming too many, but they've done a lot of business.
Sunderland have done
I mean, I was going to say something more. I mean, I'm thinking Habib Diarra, who's come in for 30 million from Strasbourg, who is a 21-year-old, a lot of responsibility on his back, but then they bought the experience of Xhaka.
Yes.
You know, they also brought in Adingra, who's been in and out, hasn't he, at Brighton, always in and out, but looks a real live wire. You know, when he looks like he can make an impact on the game. So, yes, Sunderland have invested well over in excess of 100 million already in the transfer market. Burnley's an interesting one because they went for Cole Walker, Wanzabi as well, who's obviously started his career at Manchester United and had his time at Ipswich last season. Good player, way too many injuries, but lost James Trafford.
Yes.
You know, lost their goalkeeper, who was a big part of their incredible record defensively last year. So all of these will have huge challenges because they're having to do a lot of business, as we've seen with Leeds and Sunderland, not so much Burnley, but have had to do lots of business just to give themselves a chance of staying up. That's how difficult it is. This isn't teams are going, we're going to get mid-table or beyond. This is all this money's being spent to try and keep them in the Premier League.
Yeah. Reports suggest as well that Burnley are in fact in talks to sign the Chelsea striker Armando Broja.
Yeah, Broja,
as well in a permanent
Been injured
deal.
a lot again, hasn't he?
Yeah, he had a little spell at Everton, didn't he?
Yeah.
As well.
He was injured, I think, nearly the whole time now.
Yeah, but by all accounts, he's very keen to make the move to Turf Moor. So that's another one for Scott Parker to bolster his ranks. Do you think then, you say obviously you think Leeds possibly can stay up of those three. Can you pick your bottom three?
I don't know now. I don't know at the moment because I haven't seen all the transfer activity. There's a lot of clubs who have done nothing.
Yeah.
As well. You know, how are they going to be placed?
Yeah.
You know, we're looking at clubs and we're saying how many deals they've done, but there's other clubs. I mean, Fulham have done relatively very little. You know, Everton, as we spoke about, have done very little. Your club hasn't done particularly much, you know, also, has it really? You've done a couple, two or three. I was going to say two or three. You've got a new keeper. Keller has come in. You've lost a few. Now, all of them have lost players as well. I think it's a hard call. If you said to me, who would I think? I do think two of the three will go.
Okay.
I think Sunderland are at big risk because they've done a lot of business, like Leeds. Every one of them for Sunderland have got to work because Sunderland didn't look a team good enough to be in the Premier League, even though they won the championship playoff against Sheffield for literally large portions of the game. They were second best in every area. So they had to do a lot of work to improve their team, which they've done. But I think every one of theirs has to work.
Right.
Now, when you do 5 transfers and 5 work, you're not going to have a problem. If you get 5 in that and 2 work, you're going to have a problem. If you get 1 or none work, you're going down. And that's the problem with recruitment, is how much it can hurt you if it fails.
Yeah, like you say, there's a lot of clubs that still haven't done their business, perhaps, but that doesn't mean they're not going to.
West Ham have done very little.
West Ham, Palace, Glasner.
They lost Dougie Freeman, didn't they, in March as well? You know, he's responsible for the recruitment side. But they've kept, they've still got Eze. They've still got Mark Gay. Can't believe Mark Gay's not moved on.
No,
that's a really strange one. They've still, Mateta was extraordinary for them. Walton. They've still got a core of a really good side, Palace.
But Oliver Glasner this week said they only have 17 outfield players, which isn't going to be enough if you've got Europe as well. We just wait to see what competition they'll be in.
Well, Glasner was a real genius last year.
Oh, I know.
How he changed their poor start and that into making a team end up winning a cup competition. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's going to be a busy final month, certainly when it comes to the transfer window. We'll be right across it for you here on talkSPORT and on our website too. On the way next, we'll cast our eye on the Lions.
Corinthian Casuals are a team in the Combined Counties League Premier Division South. Despite that, they're one of the most important clubs in world football. Here's why. The club was formed in 1939 as the result of a merger between Corinthians FC and Casuals FC. Now, Corinthians FC were founded in the late 1800s when the FA's top brass were sick of getting pumped by Scotland every time they played them. As a result, a man called Nicholas Lane Jackson set up an amateur side which would bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played consecutive games where Corinthians provided the entire England 11. But the thing is, the players refused to play professional football. They didn't believe in it. They wanted to spread the values of sportsmanship, competition, and played for the love of the game. It also helped that most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money. But instead of entering the league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. And it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil. And the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed, they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest football teams in Brazil. Now, they were global superstars, and despite not being professional, Corinthians drew in the crowds. Everybody wanted to play them, everybody wanted to watch them. So much so, they regularly played the winners of the FA Cup in what eventually became the Community Shield, winning most of the time. They actually inflicted Manchester United's worst defeat, 11-3, a record which still stands to this day. Now, fast forward to today, Corinthian Casuals still don't pay their staff or players. The ethos of sportsmanship is still at the heart of everything that they do. And even though they're a side in the lower leagues, if you make the trip to King George's Field in Tolworth just off the A3, you'll most likely bump into Brazilian Corinthians fans who often make the pilgrimage across the globe just to watch their founding team play.
Good morning, this is Game Day Breakfast. Thank you very much for tuning in this Saturday morning. I'm Natalie Sawyer, and with me, the man who could not only score goals, doing you a nice shampoo and set, Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
We're building up to the final test match for the British and Irish Lions after back-to-back victories against the Wallabies. The question still remains, can they complete a series whitewash?
Hugo Keane into the left-hand side to win it! Hugo Keane scores the try! British and Irish Lions have won their first series in 12 years.
These lads have dreamed of being a British and Irish Lion all their lives. Dramatic finish like that to win the series is what dreams are made of.
1974, isn't it, since the Lions team's gone to Series 1 and beaten.
The man that's led the Lions to this first series win in South Africa since 1896, Willie John McBride.
Every player in 74, nobody was going to be second best to anybody. It was as simple as that. We were going to be number one.
When we met Big Faz, made the call. He wants us to go out here and win everything.
They're a little bit more desperate, which we need to work on leading into next week.
Hugh jumps up and over the line, scores the try!
It's a big honor, boys. Take you with two arms, like Faz said.
What else could it mean to be a Lion? Prepared to win by skill, but be ready to win by will.
History potentially then in the making. It's time to get an update on the rugby then in partnership with Tenor Men.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Men. High-performance protective products for maximum comfort, confidence and discretion. Keep control.
So the British and Irish Lions are on the brink of something historic. It's over a century since the Lions last had a whitewash series victory, and that is what they are trying to do in this final test. Pleased to say, joining us, a legend of the game, Ben Youngs. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm very well, Natalie. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Tony. Nice to see you both.
Thank you for joining us, Ben. I suppose, first of all, in terms of the whitewash, when we were talking about this result after the second test last weekend, I think it was with Alex Cuthbert, and he was sort of saying, look, it's job done. They've won the series. They're going to enjoy themselves this week. But surely now it is actually about history. It's not a job done. They want to create history.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you listen to those messages that were just played on the audio there with Andy Farrell talking about wanting to come here and make history, you know, it's obviously something that they set out early doors when they first met, and they first started mapping out the plan and trying to perform against a franchise and build towards a test match. It's very clear to me from listening to that and having heard the noise from the outsiders that they've been aiming to win this 3-0 and create history. I mean, it just shows you how hard and how difficult that is to do. You know, given I think it's nearly 100 years since it was last done. It's an incredible effort. You know, they're on the brink of that, and I think for them it's the opportunity. Have they got the I suppose the mental capacity, given they are 2-0 up in the series, to go and make it 3-0, to go and create history when you know, when many people would probably think that the job is done. But I think from their point of view, this is an opportunity to create history. This is an opportunity to do something that no team has done for a very long time.
As you know, Ben, that when you cross the white line and you're a Lion, or you're any sporting environment, and you know the opposition are absolutely not going to give you an inch and going to fight you, that you'll certainly get into it in the first 10 minutes because you know what's coming. That they don't want the embarrassment of losing 3-0, but that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Look, they're a very, very proud rugby nation, Australia. You know, I know it has to play, you know, third, fourth fiddle to AFL and cricket and rugby league. It isn't their national sport. But they're a very proud rugby nation nonetheless. And, you know, they will not want to be the team that is sort of the first team to get whitewashed for 100 years. It's just not what they want. You know, they played very, very well last week, Australia. They really did. You know, the first test was a little bit underwhelming. Second test was an absolute cracker. I mean, what an example of test rugby it was. You know, everyone wants that again today. And, you know, I think Australia will be very good again today. I do. I think that they'll back up what they performed with last week. And I think the Lions, again, third game now for them as that team. There's been a few tinkers, yes. But, you know, in terms of the intensity of a test match for them, they'll be after a full 80-minute performance, because that's probably one thing the Lions haven't had. You know, the narrative from their point of view will be, you know, how do we put it all together one last time? We saw sort of 50 minutes of brilliant rugby for the first test from the Lions and not so much after that. And we saw a fantastic fight back in the second half last week. Now, can the Lions put an 80-minute performance? And I think if they do that, then I do believe the Lions will make history today and win 3-0. You know, we want Australia to back up what they did last week, because what it will make is for a fantastic third test match.
Yeah, I mean, certainly that second test, Australia really showed up physically as well, which made it a fascinating encounter. Interesting, we had Matt Giteau on. We've spoken to him a few times, and he was not happy, as you can imagine, with that late try that was awarded to the Lions. What did you make of that late try? Because obviously they're, you know, depending on what side of the argument you're on, a lot of the Australians unhappy that it was awarded. What did you think of it?
Yeah, look, Gitz is one of the greats to do it. I do enjoy listening to Gitz, and I do enjoy listening to David Campese as their sort of heads roll off in totally so annoyed by it. How do I see it? I thought what the decision at the end, I honestly believe that was absolutely right. You know, Lions are building through the phases. They make a little break. The defending player, which you're all entitled to do, goes to compete for that ball, so creates a great shape over the top of ruck and almost tries to steal the ball back. As he's doing that, Jack Morgan comes in and incredible height, and he hits him so well. It's almost like such a perfect clean out to move someone in such a strong position that there's always that grey area. People go, oh, does it look right? Because it's, you know, because it is low, it's an aggressive, and it clears him out. Now, from my point of view, I think that was a textbook clean out. It was just on the top of the shoulders, got rid of the defending threat, and was able to score. And I think from my point of view, it's one of those where, like, you know, had that not been given for the Lions view, I think we'd have been all week going, well, that's ridiculous. You know, why is that? You know, why have they penalised that? And I think from the Australian point of view, they're going, well, why have they not penalised it? You know, rugby, there's so many moving parts, and you don't get everything right. But from my point of view, I honestly believe, and I think, you know, for 80 minutes of rugby, I don't think Australia can pinpoint that one moment. Yes, that was the moment that led to this try right at the end that gave us all the grandstand finish. But the Lions scored 3 tries before that, and 3 of those tries were definitely defendable. So, yes, that isolated moment, I suppose, highlights because it's the last minute of the game and the jeopardy and everyone's out of their sofas and everyone's screaming at the tellies or what have you. But actually, when you actually break it down, Australia were in a very commanding lead. You know, I think they were 24-5 up at one stage. So, yes, there is that moment, but at 24-5, you've got to be good enough to see out that game.
Yeah.
Ben, there's been many standout performers. I think, obviously, Maro Itaje, obviously captain, led by example, was at his best in the last test. You've had Dan Sheehan, you've had Finn Russell, you know, and many, many others. So everyone's really played their part. I just wanted to give a special mention to the captain because there were some question marks, wasn't there, about, you know,
his appointment
as captain, but it's absolutely paid off brilliantly.
Oh, Maro's been exceptional, hasn't he? You know, I look at Maro and I think he's someone that I can see him going on the next tour, to be honest with you. You know, you forget, I think he's like 30 or 31 and all he's achieved in this great game already, all he's given to club and country and the Lions, you know, he's been brilliant. Servant to English rugby as well. I think he's a great, and you know, winning the series and maybe creating history today, which I really hope they do. You know, it will really you know, he'll be a big part of that. He's been a big part of that. And to see him perform like he did last week was a captain's performance because, you know, when you get that role and you're trying to bring a team together from 4 other nations and, you know, you're trying to merge and play a certain way, that's a lot of responsibility. And you've still got to focus on producing and performing yourself. But I think the manner he's gone about it and the way that he performed last week was exceptional. And he is, in my opinion, he's a legend. He should be celebrated. We're not always brilliant at celebrating our sort of legends in England. We're quite quick to sometimes put them down. But I think, you know, you look at Maro, you look at Owen Farrell, you look what those guys are given to the game. From an English point of view, they are icons in my mind.
So just to reiterate then, for today, you expect a Lions win? You think they'll get the job done?
I do, yeah, I do. I do, honestly. I think that the Lions are they've just got a bit more firepower. And what I mean by that, you know, game breakers, they've got people that can you know, make something happen out of maybe nothing, you know, when the game's on the line and just come up and produce the goods, especially with guys like Jemison Gibson-Park at 9 and Finn Russell at 10, who, you know, he's one of the best 10s in the world and he can create opportunities. And I think when I look at it as a whole, I think Australia have a power game for about 50 minutes and then the Lions can unleash the bench and, you know, and almost Australia fade away with that power game and our Lions almost build on it. And then you add in those distributing, playmaking halfbacks in Finn Russell, Gibson Park. I just think there's too much creativity for the Lions not to get the job done today. So, look, let's hope it's a cracker like it was last week. I'd love the Lions to make history. Wouldn't it be wonderful? I mean, what an achievement that is. So, yeah, I'm absolutely backing everyone to get the job done.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Fantastic. Ben, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks very much.
That is the rugby legend. That is Ben Youngs joining us. And that was all thanks to Tenor Men.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour Roundup on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Men. High-performance protected products for maximum comfort, confidence and discretion. Keep control.
And we're bringing you then live commentary of this third and final test between Australia and the Lions. Coverage begins at 10, but kickoff is at 11. tuning into Game Day Breakfast this Saturday morning here on talkSPORT. We're live on your radio, YouTube and smart TV as well. It is the former Aston Villa and Celtic striker Tony Cascarino who is alongside me, Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 10 before we focus very much on Sydney and that final test for the British and Irish Lions. Now, from 8 tomorrow night, you'll be able to hear the next episode of After the Lights Go Out here on talkSPORT with Steve Harmison and Leon Mackenzie, who this time around are in conversation with the former Newcastle and Sunderland striker Michael Chopra. The interview centres around a serious gambling addiction which affected Michael throughout much of his football career. Here he explains how Roy Keane handled the situation when he signed for Sunderland in 2007.
My agent said to me, you need to go and speak to Roy, because if this starts affecting your performance at Sunderland, it's going to be damaging for you, and Roy won't be having any of it. So I spoke to Roy, and Roy was brilliant, really, really good. Took me in his office straight away, totally understand the situation. He literally called up Sporting Chance Clinic while I was there in the office to try and get me the help I needed. Roy phoned Sporting Chance was fully booked, but they mentioned another place, which was the Capio Nightingale Hospital, which is next to the Landmark Hotel. So Roy straight away said to me, you're going to go in there next week. And I was like, well, what about football? I want to play football, Roy, and that sort of thing. He went, listen, you need to get the help.
Yeah.
A reminder, you can hear that full interview with Michael Chopra in After the Lights Go Out this Sunday from 8. And all the episodes from the current series of the programme are available right now from all your podcast providers, which includes conversations with Carl Frampton, James Haskell and Leanne Sanderson as well. But nice to hear of a manager who is well aware that sometimes there are things away from the field that need to be addressed, and that's what clearly Roy Keane was doing there.
Yeah, and you know the good side of Roy, and I'll say the good side, he has a side to him, and I know this, but he'll never ever mention it, is that he also did that with Paul McGrath, that, you know, McGrath at times was being helped, not, you know, by, I know Keane had a small involvement, but was trying to do the right thing for Paul. And I think Roy understands that problem, because I think he had his own issues in his career as well. And if it's affecting your football and you can't perform to the highest level, he would have done like he did, you know, talking about there for Chopra. Obviously, for him, it was amazing to have someone who's been as big a player as he has, Roy, that will be prepared to help him. And that's the nice side of Roy. You don't see that. Sometimes you see the side who's very critical and he does his punditry and he's feisty. That's Roy. That's what he's like. But he also has that side which he never will really talk about.
No.
But someone down the line will talk about it. And, you know, fair play to him, because I know that happened with, excuse me, with Paul McGrath.
Okay.
Wrong goal.
Yes, and well, also Paul McGrath obviously had a wonderful relationship with Jack Charlton.
Similar. So very similar.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need help.
Yeah, very, very much so. So yeah, After the Lights Go Out, that's the latest episode that you can tune into tomorrow night here on talkSPORT at 8. And then, as I say, you can find all the very latest from the podcast series as well, where you usually get your podcast from. Now it's time for a little bit of this.
Stats. Expected goals. Possession in the final third. Clean sheets. Yellow or red cards. Shots on target.
Shots on target.
These aren't just any stats. These are Natalie Sawyer stats.
What a lovely tranquil bit of music there as we go into our stats of the day. And Cass, we're going to go straight into transfer-related one. Newcastle looking as though they're going to sign Aaron Ramsdale from Southampton. Over the course of 4 Premier League seasons, he has played a total of 582 passes while under pressure from an opponent within 5 metres. Goodness me, that's a specific
That's
stat.
a lot. Yeah, that's a... Well, anyway, that's where we are on stats, aren't we?
Exactly. The work people do. In comparison, Nick Pope has completed 272 such passes, despite Pope having more minutes on the pitch. So, with Ramsdale expected to come in, does it seem as though... What does that tell you? What is it about Ramsdale that Eddie Howe is seeing with those stats in mind that he thinks might be better than Pope as an option?
Well, look, Nick Pope obviously isn't as good as Ramsdale with his feet. And some people have been critical of that, of why he's not actually made it, because he's a top goalkeeper, as in his presence, his ability to come and get things and shot stopping. Maybe Eddie wants a slightly more capable footballer at the back, in the goals. Look, there's been quite a number of mistakes as well. Aaron's, has made some individual mistakes, but then that was the way of playing at Southampton, wasn't it? When it was Southampton, you get it, you move it out from the back. And do you know one thing that stood out for me of Chelsea winning the Club World Cup was that Sanchez in goal chose not to try and take huge risks during the game. Now, I'm all for goalkeepers wanting to play the ball out from the back. I don't have one particular style, but don't do it at the risk of conceding a goal that's a high risk. And that's where I think it gets lost along the way. Of the high risk, the ball the goalkeeper got. The one I hate is when a midfielder's facing the goalkeeper, so he's got a back to the play, and a goalkeeper rolls it to him, and not the paciest of balls, but by the time it gets to the player's being closed down. Now, if he gets robbed of that ball and he's just outside the 18-yard box, you're going to concede a goal, without a doubt. It's in the back of your net. So that's the type of ball I think you need to avoid. Now, you can play. Of course you can roll it out. If the fullback's on, of course you can throw it to a fullback. But it can't be done where it's such a high risk if you lose the ball. Literally everybody's doing the chasing back to the goalkeeper, trying to stop the player having a one-on-one and just slipping it past the keeper. I think them goals are one of the worst type of goals you can see because it's unnecessary. There's risk that's unnecessary, and that's why I think, Nick Pope will generally kick the ball quite long. Generally.
Yeah. Well, and let's not forget Eddie Howe worked with Ramsdale before at Bournemouth, so that link makes sense as well. Moving on, since the 2004-05 season, Ipswich have scored the most opening day goals in the EFL, a total of 37. Wow. Meanwhile, Bristol Rovers and Barnsley have conceded the most opening day goals, 35 each. Did you score many goals on the first day of the season?
Yeah, I think I've done okay. I don't really remember it being a stat. I don't remember someone, you score the first goal of the season every year.
With 3,092 passes.
No, I don't really remember that. But I think I've done okay. There's,
really backing yourself.
No, I've done okay, I think. Honestly now, I don't remember thinking, every opening game of the season I always get a goal. No.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a bit meaningless there, wasn't it?
Some of the stats I find the problem is when this new season starts, right? If you ever read previews and they'll often come up with stats, obviously, like I've just read there about Ipswich and their opening day goals. They've got one here with Colchester.
But what do they mean, really, in the bigger terms of things? That you get goals early on in the season
on the opening day?
Yeah.
Okay. So what raring to go.
So where's the stat of what they do on the last day?
Well, I don't have that to hand, do I?
No, exactly. It's a meaningless stat.
But it's like this one. Colchester are winless across their 11 opening day league fixtures.
Dear.
Since they beat Gillingham, in fact, in 2013-14. It is the current longest streak across England's top 4 tiers.
Well, without winning a game.
On the opening day. I mean, I find it fascinating.
But see, you can be really ridiculous here. You can say, OK, let's all do the 10th game of the season. What's the stats on that? There isn't one.
I know.
So it's only relevant to the opening game of the season.
Yeah. I get you.
That's not really a stat, is it?
One result doesn't define your season as such.
No, exactly.
So, So Colchester, if you happen to lose again, doesn't mean anything necessarily. Unless it's, I don't know, like you get loads of injuries or that sort of thing. But hopefully you buck that trend today. Anyway, we'll move on. Right, when we return, we're taking you to Sydney to see how the atmosphere is building then ahead of this third and final test. morning, this is Game Day Breakfast with a man who once won the Evening Standard Player of the Month award. That's Tony Cascarino, and I'm Natalie Sawyer. You've only got a few days left to enter our huge prize draw to win 10 grand and also a VIP night out at Coldplay with your mates at Wembley Stadium. We are giving you the chance to win 6 tickets in a private box for you and your mates on August the 22nd, and it comes with full hospitality. And we're also chucking in 10 grand as well, completely tax-free. Sounds lovely. It all ends on Monday. Now, you might want a pen and paper for this. Here's how you enter. It's for 18s and over, UK excluding Northern Ireland. All you have to do is text the word WIN to 83338, and that's by the 4th of August at 11 p.m, so that's Monday. And that's it. You'll be entered into the draw. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or, and this is where I say you need pen and paper, you can post your name and number to Coldplay Competition, PO Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP, and that has to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 7th of August. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's can be found at talksport.com. OK, the British and Irish Lions have already won the series against the Wallabies, but can they create history today with a statement victory which would see them seal a series whitewash? And that hasn't been accomplished for nearly a century. Lots for us to get into then. Let's take you to Sydney, who out there for us is the former Lion and World Cup winner Ben Kay. Ben, how are you?
Hi, Ben.
Morning, Natalie. Morning, Cass. Yeah, we're great. It's a little bit wet. I think we might be playing water polo. It's rained 4 days straight and it's still pouring down, so might hamper some of the silky skills from Finn Russell.
Oh, yes. I'm just seeing some footage of it now. Yeah, we can see it's very, very wet. But still, like you say, hopefully it won't hamper anybody too much. And as we say, history could be in the making. Can they do it, Ben?
Absolutely. I'd make them very much favourites. Obviously, they've won the series already, so there's that element of, you know, there isn't that fear that you sometimes need a little bit of, just a bit of apprehension about what's going to happen, because regardless of what happens tonight, they'll go home as winners. But I think the Lions are going to be far too strong for the Wallabies. I think the Wallabies' performance last week, where they gave the Lions a huge fright and the Lions just nicked it at the end, that was almost their big final. And I think if the Lions go out there and get some decent ball in the first half, I think the Lions could well put on a good score tonight.
Yeah, well, I was saying earlier when we had Ben Young on and we were talking, and you know, the Australian perspective is they don't want the humiliation of being beaten 3-0 and something that hasn't happened for 100 years. That will sit heavily on them. But have they got enough in there, like you just said, Ben, to actually produce and get a result against the Lions?
Yeah, that's exactly it, and it's huge at the moment because in rugby union in Australia at the moment is struggling slightly. We're in Sydney. There's 9 NRL rugby league teams, just clubs in this city, and only one elite professional rugby union team. It's massive. It's always competing against the AFL, the Australian rules, the rugby league here, and at the moment, because they're not doing so well, it's sort of taking more and more of a back seat. So there are plenty of, I'm going to call them yellow jerseys. The Australians hate that. They say it's gold, but they're definitely yellow. There's lots of yellow jerseys in here tonight. I think the public are turning up thinking, God, we cannot go 3-0 down, but I just don't think there's enough quality there. Valentini missing for them. He was their standout player in the first half when they were so good last week. He's not available. Yes, they'll put up a fight, but I think the class of the Lions, particularly without that pressure on them, will come through at the end.
I was going to add, because obviously Argentina, before they left for the tour, they got beaten. The Lions, match by match, have just got stronger and stronger, haven't they? And individual performances, Ben, as well, have been really of a high level in recent weeks.
Yeah, and actually, over the last few weeks, some of the players that were maybe criticised for how they were playing at the beginning of the tour and did they deserve those test spots, they've been the standout players who've all put world-class performances in the test matches. So Andy Farrell's selection policy has been absolutely spot on, but particularly in the back row, I think they've been phenomenal. Finn Russell's had a really strong tour, Ellis Genge, Jamison Gibson Park. There are so many players that have really, really stood up.
So we've seen what they can do in that second second test. The first one, as we know, pretty underwhelming from the Wallabies. But what they want to do, I'm sure, Ben, is to finish this series on a positive note. Bear in mind they've got the Rugby Championship to come, starting, in a couple of weeks' time. And then with the Rugby World Cup coming up in a few years' time, they want to build that momentum, but also build the fan base once more, I suppose, with the rugby union fans.
That's absolutely it, and they haven't put in good performances, but the support has been incredible. They've been filling the stadiums. The MCG, which is not a rugby union area, Melbourne, there's no real interest in rugby union down there, and yet there were the biggest ever crowd, over 90,000 for a Lions match there. So that was huge, but ahead of the World Cup, they just need performances. You mentioned about the Rugby Championship. One of the reasons they were maybe slightly undercooked is they only had one warm-up game against Fiji. The Lions had a few, obviously, but they've got to go straight into the Rugby Championship. They're actually playing 15 internationals this season. It just so happens the Lions were at the beginning of it, so they couldn't risk having any more international games before the Lions series, or they couldn't do it because of player welfare and making sure that the season structure's in place. So they have had their hands tied behind their backs a little bit, but it's more down to what's happened over the last 18 months rather than what's happened over the last one.
I bet you've loved it, Ben, haven't you? You've loved it, being part of it.
It's been incredible.
Yeah, I bet you have.
It's been the whole Sea of Red thing is real. People always talk about it, and it sounds a bit cliche-ish, but the people that have come on this tour to support it, they go home with life memories and become firm friends with all the people that they tour with. The atmosphere out here is incredible, and the fact that the Lions have been winning has made it even more special. But won last night, and if you've got any friends in Sydney, you probably just want to tell them to put the earplugs in tonight, so I think there'll be some big celebrations going
on. Just lastly, I suppose then, in terms of the Lions and getting this series whitewash done, who are you looking to be the match winners today?
I think Finn Russell will be really important because in some respects he might play with the shackles off him a little bit. He's had such a good tour, buys himself so much time to make those killer passes. In the past there was a little bit of a tag around his neck that he could sometimes throw those passes that maybe weren't quite on and he'd get intercepted. His game has improved so much, partly down to the laws have favoured a player like him, the new laws that have come in, but he is going to, with nothing on the line, I think he's going to try and really get that attacking game going. There's an element of risk if it goes wrong, particularly in these conditions, that invites the Australians back into the game, but if he gets it right, he could actually absolutely tear this Wallaby defence apart.
Well, what I will say is, Ben, you've already given us a one-up by saying it's Australian yellow and not gold. So I like that. Like that edge of you, Ben. Fabulous stuff.
They give us enough grief.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Listen, Ben, thank you and enjoy the game.
Cheers, Ben. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
You'll be able to tune into Ben alongside Alex Cuthbert. David Campese is part of our team too, as is Alfie Reynolds and Andrew McKenna as well. They are out in Australia bringing you live coverage of this third and final test, which kicks off at 11, although our coverage will begin after us at 10 here on talkSPORT. This is Game Day Breakfast. It's the former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino who is with me, Natalie Sawyer. We're with you until 10. Here are some of your headlines today. Ryan Johnson's unfortunate late own goal gave Luton a winning start to their League One season as they won 1-0 at home to AFC Wimbledon. Tottenham captain Son Heung-min says he will leave the club this summer after 10 years, having scored 173 goals for the club since joining in 2015. And Benjamin Sesko remains Manchester United's #1 striker target to bring in this summer transfer window. Yesterday, Ben Jacobs, our transfer reporter, gave us the latest on the potential move.
Yeah, I think there's a fair chance. So myself and Alex yesterday broke the story that Manchester United sent a delegation to Germany to start formal talks. And there's kind of two tactics at play here. You've got Newcastle and Manchester United. Newcastle have gone to Leipzig and essentially said, if your asking price is over 80 million euros, we're prepared to pay it. And I think some of the reason why is because they know they're pre-spending in some senses Alexander Isak money. Manchester United, on the other hand, are trying to get buy-in from the player in the hope that when they go formally to Leipzig, the price will drop because it's clear the player wants Manchester United. And at the moment, it looks like Manchester United are more confident than Newcastle. But of course, you've got to be able to negotiate with Leipzig, and the price didn't drop for Arsenal. Manchester United are banking on the fact that later in the window it will, because Leipzig need to bring in funds. They've not got European football. And again, a bit like Brentford in a strange way. If Xavi Simons went to Chelsea first, Leipzig may stick to their asking price. If a deal gets done for Sesko first, it might be harder to get Xavi Simons for under 70 million euros. There's an element of the intertwined nature of two deals going on, but the first one that gets done will probably be more routine than the second. And at the moment, Manchester United are more confident than Newcastle.
Okay. There does seem to be a lot with these transfers, Cass, the domino effect and
merry-go-round.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about Sesko there and linked with this move, and it seems as though that United are opting for him. But at one point, Ollie Watkins was on their radar, supposedly.
Yeah.
Are you surprised that they have maybe gone for the RB Leipzig striker over a Premier League proven striker?
Well, obviously the price tag of a 29-year-old plays its part. If you're being asked to pay 60 million, there's the resale, and clubs do look at the financial side of a deal.
Yeah.
And maybe want to go younger anyway.
Yeah,
there's
I think
some
Amorim
clubs
tends to go younger, doesn't he, with his players? From what I've seen at Sporting and everything.
Yeah, when you get to sort of 27, that now is like the old 30. Right, okay, because 27 now it seems to be the cut-off of where clubs really want to go big. There are still transfers that happen at 27, 28. You still get big transfers. But it's for Manchester United and the player, if they think he's obviously made it quite vocal to the club he's at that he'd prefer to go to Manchester United, then will the club drop the price slightly if United are not going to do what Newcastle might do, pay it in full? I think as a player you have to decide where you want to go and play your football.
Yeah.
And forget about the financial package to a degree, because where your heart tells you where you want to go, I think you should do that.
The only thing I would say about the Ollie Watkins thing, and I have seen some negativity about that link, but he is now also linked with Newcastle as a result of everything that's going on. But Watkins and Mbeumo played together at Brentford, and they were so brilliant together. Okay, admittedly there was another player in the three with Said Benrahma, but it kind of, part of me thinks, that would work. That could work again. You never know. But anyway, it seems as though they are looking elsewhere.
There's one issue that doesn't, and we've talked about it before, but doesn't get mentioned, is that what happened to Ollie Watkins at the end of last season at Villa, being left out of some of the major games. I'm not sure he would be okay going into this season and thinking, World Cup at the end of the season. If Harry Kane got injured and I've played relatively, I've been in and out the Villa team, because he might think, I'm not guaranteed of being starter every week at the Villa.
But that's when they had Marcus Rashford, and they don't have Marcus Rashford this time. We don't know what they're going to do.
Villa are another club that haven't done that much business. Exactly. I expect them to.
Yeah. Let's get back on to, the couple of news really that affected what that broke overnight, or certainly late last night, with Alexander Isak and the Reds bid, Liverpool bid that they had put in, which was supposedly 110 million. And if you believe reports, that was a lowball offer, £10 million shy of what had informally been proposed last month. And then there's a Heung-min Son who has decided that this is his final few days at Tottenham. He wants to leave the club, and Tottenham are helping to facilitate that move for him, we should say. He's not trying to force anything. But if we talk more about the Isak situation, I'm reading in particular the Craig Hope story, which is an exclusive on the back of the Daily Mail. He's the chief football reporter, and he's actually out in Seoul where Newcastle are. He says that the Reds lose their bottle over Isak. Now, they put this £110 million bid, which has straight away been rejected. He is saying that Liverpool don't want to go in for a second offer as things stand because of the firm rebuttal from Newcastle. He's also suggesting that Isak may have been strung along by Liverpool. What do you make of all of this sort of stuff?
I don't quite believe that he's been strung along, because look, the line in the sand is 150 million. It's quite clear that Newcastle do not want to budge, and it's within their right to keep stern on their, keep tight on that fee that they think he's worth. So that's one issue. And obviously Liverpool don't want to go that big. I don't see Liverpool paying close to 150. If they, like most negotiations, they come to some sort of middle ground and Liverpool go, okay, we'll go to 125 and add-ons will maybe 130. Tops, I don't see Liverpool going beyond 130. I think that's just going to be too much for them to consider paying for Isak. I don't think he's been strung along. I think Liverpool have gone in quite hard with a record fee, plus with the add-ons, it's a record British fee for a player. And they know they probably have to go a bit more. But if they look at it and go, Newcastle going to stay hard on 150, I don't think Liverpool will do that deal. I just don't see that.
So, again, in this article, it says there is some sympathy for the Swede inside Newcastle, with a feeling he has been badly advised and left high and dry by Liverpool. I mean, I know what you mean. I don't like the term of strung along, but I suppose, and I'm only going on what this article is saying, and that's why I'm going with this, is that his behaviour at this moment in time has come from somewhere. It's come from maybe his agent telling him Liverpool are highly interested in you. In fact, they're going to make a bid. They're going to go in big for you, and that's going to all work out, blah, blah, blah. As I say, I don't think it's necessarily being strung along, but there is clearly something that's gone wrong in this current situation if Liverpool aren't going to come in with another bid, because we've now seen this awful behaviour by Alexander Isak, where he's essentially gone on strike.
Yeah, look, if you're a player, you have to understand that the club that's going to pursue you, they'll pay a certain price. That means they want you. Liverpool definitely want him, but they're not going to literally throw the kitchen sink to go, we'll pay exactly what Newcastle want. I just don't see it happening now.
No, I know what you mean.
And look, Isak has to understand that. As a 25-year-old man, he has to understand that Liverpool will only go so far. And if they end up paying 130, which I think they'd do, then...
And you think they'll get it at 130?
If Newcastle turn that down, Liverpool are saying that we're not... To me, I just do not see 150. I just don't see how they'll go that high.
It's sort of a message, isn't it, what we're seeing right now with Isak, and to a point Wieser as well at Brentford, who is in a similar situation. If it doesn't, and I feel Wieser's more likely to go as things stand than Isak is, just because of the nature of what's happening with this bid with Liverpool. But this is a lesson for players, isn't it? That you can't go about your business like this by behaving in this way, because if it doesn't go your way, you've got to walk back into the training ground with your tail between your legs. And I know players might not be bothered as much, teammates, but it's the feeling from everybody else. It's the fans. There will be some within clubs as well that will be disappointed.
Yeah, of course. But unfortunately, as we've seen over the decades, that players will do this on regular occasions where they'll go, I didn't get what I wanted, I'll do this. It doesn't work. I think you have to be adult about it and understand. And I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised if he ends up signing a new deal at Newcastle and all will be forgiven. Okay? That's I just don't believe that what they're asking for. If they stick on a hard Newcastle on 150, Liverpool won't go there. I just don't see that happening.
Well, it's not a negotiation.
No, it's not a negotiation. Yeah. And that's why maybe Liverpool were saying, well, we're not going to do second and third bids because there's not even a middle ground. The middle ground would be 125, 130. Maybe the deal could get across the line. But if they think they want hard 150, no chance. I just don't see it.
Yeah, be interesting. I wonder how those, and I totally understand it, those Newcastle fans who are right now angry with Isak, I wonder how they would feel if...
I'd love him if he started scoring goals again.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But there is an element of tarnishing your legacy, isn't there?
Yeah,
even if he does stick around. And I do get your point that if he starts scoring goals, all is forgiven. But there will be some that will still be a bit like... Do you remember when he wanted to leave? Do you remember when we weren't his priority?
Yeah,
there just is that element, but I get what you're saying.
So if he signed a new deal and, you'd see an article straight away with how much he loved and wanted to stay at Newcastle. And
you wouldn't believe it, though, would you?
No, maybe you wouldn't believe it, but as long as he wears and plays his best football for Newcastle, fans don't care.
No, absolutely.
If you saw a player totally committed and getting the goals that he's capable of, you wouldn't care.
Yeah. It's going to run and run for a little while. Don't forget the transfer window this summer ends on September the 1st. I think it's at 7 p.m. It's an earlier close this time around. Yes. Okay, that is it for us this Saturday morning. We're back tomorrow for more of the same and plenty more too. But on the way next here, it's all, we are all eyes in Sydney on what's happening between Australia and the British and Irish Lions. Our coverage starts next, but kickoff is at 11.